Welcome back, everybody. It is time to resume our live stream schedule. It's fun times that we've had to take a short break from. Actually, we've had a lot of construction in our house. We were in the path of Hurricane Irma. That had nothing to do with it, though. We just had a completely unrelated bit of water damage in our house, and that caused construction, which, you know, it's not the easiest thing to do. Record when there's contractors making lots of noise in your house. But we are back. Our house is all back to normal, and we're excited to talk some Game of Thrones. We're going to talk about normal. Yes, Sean, correctly putting air quotes on that. And it's really fun to talk about Jaime. We wanted to talk about him a couple weeks ago, and surprise, surprise, we didn't have enough time to talk about all the things we wanted to talk about. That never happens. But this is the time for that now. We've got a lot to talk about with regards to Jaime. And to help us with that, we have a very special guest, Joanna Robinson. Hi, Joanna. How you doing?
I'm doing well. Thanks, guys. I was so gratified when you put out the call on Twitter and you were like, who in the Game of Thrones fandom likes Jaime? And a bunch of people were like, Joanna does a lot. So you should have her.
There were a few other emphatic demands that they liked Jaime the most, but you know, people carried your flag first. That was like less than 2 minutes later, that response came in like Joanna. Like, all right, well, we've been wanting to have Joanna on, and this really worked out well. So
of course, someone with the name Joanna would like Jaime Lannister.
You know, it's all in the family, as the Lannisters like to say.
We got a real quick super chat from Rachel B-Star, watching live from a Toronto subway. Hey guys, very cool.
That is awesome. Wow. Ain't technology grand?
Yeah, it is.
So of course we have Ashea here, sitting in a different spot, the middle, which makes a lot of sense. We've got an Ashea sandwich here. Mm-hmm. Sean, of course, is back as well, doing his thing. He's got a, what is that? Is that a Pink Floyd type of shirt?
You wore that last time, Sean.
Did I?
I'm pretty sure.
It's a popular shirt.
Ashea's got
the childish side of the moon. It's
the childish side of the moon. That's cool. Shay's got R2D2 going, and I've got the North Remembers. I don't have a Jaime Lannister shirt, but I'm happy to wear this shirt by Sanrixian, who is also a great artist. And she sent us this recently, and it got here in time for me to wear it for this episode, so that's cool. Thanks for that, Sanrixian. Check her out. She's also one of our patrons, so
it's Three Black Dogs.
In multiple ways. Three Black Dogs, that's right. 3 Black Dogs on Twitter as well, and we got to meet her black dog in a patron hangout the other day. Mm-hmm. That was cool. And some cats as well. Many animals, good people. So, okay, well, a couple other quick announcements and we'll get going. Not a whole lot to say, but we do have a few things to say. One of those things is that the Blackfish episode, our first book-only episode in a little while since before the season started, is recording tomorrow. So patrons will start to receive that about a day or two after that, 2 or 3 days after that. You know, it takes a few days to edit it and produce it and all that. I won't put a precise timeline on that, but it usually doesn't take more than 3 days, sometimes less, sometimes slightly more. So that'll be out soon. And of course, I want to thank our regular patrons, including Jeff Gnarly, the Long Snapper, History of Westeros' First Sword. And of course, our Dragon Rider patrons, Lord Mark of House Joseph, the Snow and Winterfell, rider of Mazalacartho, the White Dragon with green scales, horns, wings, and talons. Telenis the Talon, King of Gagasus, rider of Telarius, a red dragon with scales, horns, and talons of Midnight Black. And Jinx of House Lier, Green Queen of the Rainwood, rumored daughter of a Woods Witch, rider of Erogenia, a sylphic albino dragon with amethyst eyes and opalescent wings. And that one's the hardest to say of the three.
On purpose.
Yes, on purpose. She warned me that it would be hard to say, and she was right. Okay, so that's it for the announcements. We'll blaze through that pretty quickly. We'll start with Jaime going to Winterfell, because there's so much to say. Every character at Winterfell, just with maybe a few exceptions, and I'm talking about the major ones, not, random stable hand, although he or she probably has an opinion on Jaime too.
Yeah.
But
he's the most dashing man in all the land.
It's true. The only one with a golden hand, right?
You rhymed right there.
Yeah, I did.
We have a super chat from Stephen Stark. Shea is still the best, and welcome to Joanna.
Oh, thank you, Stephen Stark.
Hi.
That's right. That is his real name. Yeah. I've pointed that out before, but it bears re-mention because
he was at Con of Thrones,
cool.
which is where we met Joanna too.
That's right.
Yes.
Worlds colliding. That is Con of Thrones is where a lot of us met each other for the first time ever. And that is a wonderful thing about it.
Shall we meet again?
And that's right. And of course,
Yeah, we need a trivia. I think we need a trivia rematch, right, guys?
I think so. I
We
think
beat
so.
you by like 1 point.
Yeah,
We're
it was
ready.
close.
We're
It had
ready.
to be close. It had to be really close.
Yeah.
Well, they already recruited me to help with the questions next time, so I won't be a competitor next time around.
That's
so.
No,
just
it's
an
not a
excuse
true
right there. Yeah.
That's how I'm dodging that bullet.
Yeah,
I'm
just
like,
wanna go out on top."
Retiring a champion.
Oh no.
We could probably set something up.
Yeah, I mean, we can have
Something
a.
like a. Are you talking about like a private trivia rumble?
Ooh, that
Maybe,
sounds
maybe.
like fun. Podcasters only trivia contest.
I feel like there was enough interest last time that they could have had like 8 different trivia events. You know,
Yeah,
like,
I
think
like
so.
the whole
Packed.
con
That's
showed
true.
up to the trivia.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It really was. It was really a big deal. So there's a lot of places we could start with Jaime, but I think what we can do is we'll start with the people, the shorter list, which is the people that will actually be pretty happy or very happy or to see him, or at least people who like him a lot. And there aren't many of them. So that's why it's a decent place to start. The most obvious one is Tyrion, right? Tyrion's the one who's most obviously a fan of his brother. So let's get some...
I just want to say here, to me, it's less obvious because of the books.
Okay.
I just
You're right.
put that out there.
Fair point. Fair point.
To me, Brienne jumps out as the most obvious one, but in the show that isn't the case. There is no rift between Tyrion and Jaime, but I also can't help but think about how this relates to the books and how if Jaime goes north, how this could relate to that.
Of course, yeah. And of course, the reason that this is so different, just for anyone who's maybe doesn't remember exactly, there is no fallout over Tysha in the show. In the book, of course, Jaime confesses the truth about Tysha, which is that it was all set up. And Tyrion, understandably, is very angry over that. But that it doesn't happen in the show
And
at all.
And then Tyrion lies and says he killed Joffrey, right?
Yeah.
Just to hurt Jaime and retribution.
Yeah. So
Yeah, so
I wonder how that's going to go in the
Yeah,
book,
so they're
too.
very much on the outs. Yeah.
Tense. Very tense.
Tense and
Yeah.
Lannisterdom. Yes. So
Were you guys upset that they changed that? Like, I remember writing about it at the time when they changed sort of the parting of the ways of Tyrion and Jaime, and I was like, it's even darker in the books. And then pretty much everyone I know who watches the show and doesn't read the books is like, I could not have handled
being
more
darker.
darkness. It's just like Tyrion murders 2 people. Like, give me something nice to hold on to in that episode.
At the
so.
time when it happened, I was bothered by it, but more I was wondering what the implications of it were, what it meant for where Tyrion and Jaime's plot lines were going to go. I figured it had to mean that they needed them to be on good terms in the future, and while they were kind of on good terms in the future, and it was somewhat important, I feel like they could have had it with how things happened, but it went about how I expected it to go, that they would connect with each other in the future. And they didn't need this extraneous thing to deal with.
I was surprised by it. More than I was bothered in the long term. It would bother me a little bit, but more I was surprised because they had mentioned Tysha in an earlier season. So it was surprising that they didn't follow that thread up, So
Yeah, at a certain point they decided to be like, Tysha who? I don't remember her.
I think what you said makes sense. Like, I think Ashaya said it. They planned this out, and back in season 2 or whenever Tysha was first mentioned, they hadn't planned 5 seasons ahead, and we're like, oh, you know what? We're gonna have to ditch this Tysha thing.
Yeah.
Or even if they had planned 5 seasons ahead, they might not have fully anticipated everything that was going to happen. They came up with new ideas, ran out of time.
Mm-hmm.
There's only 7 episodes this past season,
Yeah. They
Maybe
didn't have
8, 9,
time
10
to-
we're going to be the Tysha episode.
It was gonna be a 3-part. It was a 3-episode arc. But it got cut.
Hey, isn't that one of the spin-off ideas? Where do horrors go? Or
Yeah.
where horrors go? is
Yeah,
the
that was
actual-
from our the panel that we did at Con of Thrones.
Did anyone come up with an
Really
answer?
good idea.
Yeah, no one did, but to be clear, people who don't remember me talking about this on the podcast before, the concept was some sex workers in Littlefinger's brothel have reached the ripe old age of 26 or something, and so they retire to a home together in King's Landing, and that's where whores go, and it just follows them like a Golden Girls style house.
The elevator pitch was Golden Girls, but retired whores from Littlefinger's brothel, and I think it was my Star Wars Spoilers co-host Dave Gonzalez who came up with the title where
Yeah,
your horse go.
it's just it is really perfect. It's one of the ones that has stuck with me the most since that panel. I really liked it.
The show would be abbreviated. It would just be called WWG for short.
Yeah.
You've heard of the WWF, now the WWG.
I think in terms of the show, Tyrion is like gonna be over the moon to see his brother, right? So and then they can bond about their like, yes, Cersei is the worst. How fascinating that we never really talked about that before.
Like, why did it take you so long to figure this out, Jaime? Oh, because you're sleeping with her. Right.
I've had a thought recently, by the way.
Just one?
You just one. I get one a year. I wonder how much Jaime, in his mind, he's not abandoning Cersei. He's still helping her right now. He's still worried for her. If the North fails, she's in danger. He's got to go help the North. On some level, at this moment, maybe he's mad. Maybe it seems like he's abandoning her. But on some level, I still expect him to be committed to her.
That makes a lot of sense. Yeah, the fact that she, he thinks he's saving the whole realm, or helping to, and she's part of that. Yeah, I could see that a little bit.
And a little unborn baby too.
True that. He wants the future of his child assured. Yeah, as sketchy as that may be.
I think that the actor Nicola Coster-Waldau, I think he gave an interview where he was like, "Have you ever been happier about someone being a deadbeat dad than when Jaime rode away from King's Landing?"
That's true. He gets away with a lot of things that other people can't get away with.
He really does.
It's that golden hand privilege, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
In terms of Tyrion and Bronn interacting, Tyrion and Jaime interacting, that's my point, is Tyrion going to ask, hey, did you just ditch Bronn? You didn't give him a heads up at all?
He'd have been helpful up here.
So weird that Bronn's not on the road with him, right? Like,
yeah, I don't get why he would leave him when he knows Cersei seemed to have some kind of thing out for him, and when we know at a meta level that Bronn's not going to be in any scenes with Cersei.
No Jerome and Lena.
So, I don't know how they're going to deal with that. Bronn's just going to show up. He's like, you tried to get out of here.
They could CGI it. They could CGI it.
I feel like composite them in a scene. That'd be hilarious. No, I feel like the smartest thing they could do is to like open season 8 with Bronn like breathlessly catching up to him on the road, being like, "Forget something, let's go." Like there's no way you leave him at King's Landing and still have him in the show. It feels like so.
I do kind of expect that. I'm a little suspicious of how this is going in the first place. I think there's a chance that Jaime doesn't actually get to Winterfell. That something turns him around.
So?
That Cersei sends guards out to seize him and bring him back. He knows about her plans. She can't let that happen. Like, maybe she's not going to kill him.
She knew that when she let him go, though.
I agree, but it's on the same meta level that it doesn't make sense in King's Landing to only have Cersei and Bronn who can't do scenes together.
Well, that's not a sure thing, though, right? They could introduce new characters.
But what I'm saying is, in general, what is going on in King's Landing? Something's got to... Maybe they leave King's Landing and go north or something.
I think you're right to say it's possible, but I think story-wise, I think it's virtually impossible. I think it would be such a false thing to do. Yeah. Like, send him north and then
never done
send
that
him
before.
North. It would be kind of unprecedented. No, it really would. Like, to set us up on a plotline that's not actually happening. I can't think of an example of that.
I would say that the Jaime falling in the water and that was not quite the same thing, but it was as close as it can come.
We did the same type of speculation we're doing now. Like, now that this happened, let's just think about all the interactions we're going to get with Jaime.
Yeah, we failed to consider the most obvious thing, which is that he just swims out. Like I don't think we're missing some obvious possibility here.
We did not really consider it. I think I mentioned it as like, I guess it's possible.
Yeah, we didn't not mention it, but we were like, oh, it's pretty far down the list. We're like, oops, it's clearly the case.
I think Aziz is right, at least that like viewers will be pissed if like Jaime sets out on the road and then is back in King's Landing by like episode 1 of the next season. Is that okay?
Yeah. Sean and I are sharing a footstool and he lifted his foot up and it like toppled me over. It was a whole thing. Anyways.
The funny things that you never know what can happen during our live stream.
Next thing you know, I'll be dancing.
So I think Tyrion's going to be pretty excited to have Jaime there, but he'll recognize that he's going to be one of the only people excited to have Jaime there. And like it was with Winterfell at the beginning of last season, season 7, we had to do a range of predictions based on, well, who's going to get there first? Is Bran going to get there before Arya? Is Jon going to be there when all these other things happen? And so, like, the timing and the ordering of everything matters so much. But really, the only ordering here, I think, is certainly Jon and Dany are on their way to Winterfell. Most people are already there, and including a lot of the people that are going to have problems with Jaime. And Night King is coming with his, giant army, and Bran knows this. So everyone else is going to know that. So that's one thing Jaime has on his side, that as much as anyone might hate him, they're going to be a little more preoccupied with this giant army of the dead that's coming. And that might be like, we'll worry about getting back at you later.
Also, it would have been nice if Jaime's welcome would be a little smoother if he rolled up, like, having mustered some troops. And not just like, hey, it's me. I'm good at military strategy. Want me on your team. Like, it would be nice if he had been like, hey, how's so-and-so? You don't really like Cersei. Come with me. Come on, let's go.
It's funny because the preliminary outline, I don't know if you'd taken a look at that at all, Joanna. But in that, which was, before they'd filmed anything, Jaime does leave with an army. Really? They write it that he leaves with it. And obviously they chose to change that for some reason, whether it means that Sean's right and Jaime's going to get dragged back to King's Landing and then he's going to leave with an army, or it means that he doesn't need it. I don't know.
Yeah,
or the army will just be with him next season and they won't have... That's more, isn't that more on track with like sort of what the show is now? It's just sort of like, we'll be like, where'd he get that army? And they'll be like, guys, don't you know they went and got the chain from behind the mountain and then just back there and it was fine. Don't worry about it.
I mean, obviously everyone just loved Jaime and thought he was such an inspiring commander. They just realized he left north and decided to come after him.
We got a lot to do. We only got 6 episodes, so we have no time for this. Yada, yada, yada. But honestly, actually seeing Jaime muster the troops would have been fun because one of the things that like book readers who love Jaime love is sort of the diplomacy stuff he gets to do in like the later books, right? And so watching Jaime do more of that diplomacy in order to outmaneuver his sister would have been a nice reward for book readers. Right?
I see someone in the chat bringing up the idea that he could pick up troops from, one of the many places the Lannisters might still have troops. They mentioned River Run. I don't think that they do have them at River Run anymore, but the point remains that they might not have all the Lannister troops at King's Landing yet.
Wait, are you saying that Jaime Lannister is going to pick Ed Sheeran up in the Riverland and ensure that Ed Sheeran is part of season 8?
Yeah.
Well,
you heard it here.
Arya's going to be there, so they need to keep that train running, right?
There you go.
Got to keep her from going back to murderousness by keeping Ed Sheeran around to keep her calm and happy.
Right, yeah. She's like the Hulk, and he's the only thing that can keep her calm.
That's hilarious. It's amazing how much mileage we've all gotten out of Ed Sheeran's appearance. Certainly more than any of the other guest appearances, I think.
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah.
Even though so many of them were musicians singing a song.
I think
that's a huge percentage of
that most of them were, I guess all of them were bands, known for being bands as an amalgamation of a group, whereas Ed Sheeran is Ed Sheeran. His name.
That's true.
If you have like a drummer from Snowplay, everyone's like, I don't really know what that guy looks like anyway. And he's in the balcony, like he's in the rafters, no one's looking at him. Where Ed
Don't
Sheeran's
downtalk drummers now.
No. Much love to drummers. Whereas like Ed Sheeran's like, I got lines. Very ginger, and I'm here. So.
Speaking of the hair colors and stuff, we've got Emilia Clarke has dyed her hair blonde for real. I think it's because she knows Jaime's coming to Winterfell and she wants to look good for the Kingslayer, the man who killed her father.
Who wouldn't? Or she's like reminding him, she's like, remember how you used to be blonde? Yeah.
That's gonna look that's funny. I guess she's trading places with Sophie. Sophie is now wearing a wig instead of having, so they're just, you got to keep it balanced. They got to keep that even. There can only be a certain number of wigs at any one time.
It's like matter and energy. You can like change them, but you can't destroy or create.
This is the unified theory of wig preservation or something.
Maybe Tyrion will have to go back to his original season 1 blonde hair color that just vanished over the years. I hope not, but
I hope so. I hope he and Daenerys like dyed their hair together.
It'll be like they're at Winterfell. It'll be like that scene where all the boys are getting shaved.
Yes.
You know?
Yeah. All
Like
getting their hair blonde.
Peroxide. Yeah.
I see someone say in the chat here, Viserys Sunbreaker says, "Does Dany cut her hair now that she's suffered a massive defeat?" Oh.
Yeah, I like that idea too. Like a Khal would, cutting off their beads.
It's a fun theory.
That makes a lot of sense.
I feel like the reason Emilia Clarke's hair is short in that photo is like for wig reasons. Like it's just going to be easy to put extensions in her hair and all that sort of stuff. But I have loved all of the theories about why her hair might be shorter. And like cutting a braid off like a Khal, like that's cool. Getting it burned off like it gets burned in the books, like that's kind of cool theory.
I would love that, but it would be weird for it to happen so many years later after it hasn't.
Yeah,
but I would love it.
Why did it burn? This
And she's like, just on the neck. Can you give me like a cute bob?
I think I know what's actually happening. I think Cersei's gonna capture Daenerys and make her get the same haircut
as Viserys. It's like all Targaryens have to have that wig.
This is what queens look like. Short hair.
So I guess Tyrion will have to play advocate unless this whole Night King is so much of a deal that no one has time to care about Jaime, you know? And he'll just be like, yeah, okay, we hate you, but you've got a sword. Hey, a good sword. Actually, that sword belonged... never mind. Just fight. Help us fight, and we'll worry about that later.
I can imagine a scenario like the Brotherhood at Eastwatch, where he, at least at first, they put him in prison, and he has to make a case. Tyrion has to make a case to...
I think Bran is going to be pivotal here.
Yeah.
I think that he's not going to care that Jaime did this, that he has bigger things in mind, and I think he's going to speak on behalf of him.
Yeah.
And Bran's going to be like, if it was meant to be, if he hadn't done that, I wouldn't be this. And I'm great now. So, but I actually love the idea of Jaime in jail, because Jaime in jail is great Jaime, right? Last time he killed a cousin, like, you know. But the model for like awkward interactions of old foes having to work together, we had a lot of that in season 7, so we could like look to some of that. You know, you've got like Tyrion working with Ilaria, and he's like, yada yada yada, you killed Myrcella, like, or Theon and Jon reuniting, like those things, and like how they played out. And is it going to be like a tense grab you by the collar, but 2 episodes later, like I'm giving you advice on how to be both a, you know, a Greyjoy and a Stark? Or is it going to be like, you killed my niece, I really loved her, my sister captured you, I don't really care, I'm glad you're gone? Like, I don't know what it's going to be. So
yeah, I think that's a good point, Ashayas, about Bran being pivotal. A lot of people will be mad on Bran's behalf, but Bran will be like, I don't care. Okay. I mean, you know, so he's hardly even Bran anymore.
Do you think Bran is going to share the information that Jaime did this?
Oh, that's a good point. Nobody really knows other than him.
Nobody knows. He could say it and other people could get mad, but he could also not be aware, and he could also be aware and only talk to Jaime personally about it.
That's what I think.
To avoid conflict, he might just keep it a secret. Yeah. Because Arya would certainly be like...
I don't think Bran really has that discretion, or that, like...
That's what I was going to say. I don't think he has that filter anymore. Like, that diplomatic, like, people be mad. Like, I feel like everyone's going to be there. He's like, oh, you pushed me out a window. People are like, what?
You look so beautiful that night.
The sun glinting off your hair as you shove me out the window. Oh, Bran. But the other ally he has is Brienne, right?
Brienne,
like,
yeah. That's a
but I don't know how much. I don't know how much sway she had. Like, she has maybe some sway with Sansa, but that's about it, right?
Yeah, that's true. She's not a.
Yeah, you're right. She doesn't have a lot of influence on people. She has Pod, and I was trying to think of if Pod had interactions with anyone, but just Tyrion as well.
She might have to sway with Arya. I feel like she's proved herself to Arya, if you will.
Yeah. It's true.
That's a good point. Yeah, it's and then there's I also really think Jon is fairly pivotal because he's the king at this point, and Jon may not have direct problems with Jaime. I mean, Jaime made fun of him back in season 1 for being in the Knights, for going to protecting the realm and all that, which is kind of funny now that Jaime has come first look. Is like, dude, I was wrong. Sorry about that business I gave you back in whatever that was, like episode 1, like actual episode 1, I think.
If you rewatch that, he gives him, not to bring politics into your podcast, I won't do that to you. Whatever side of the aisle you may be on, you might have noticed that Donald Trump has a very distinctive way of shaking people's hands. Which
he does. He does.
And he pulls it close to him. Jaime gives that exact move to Jon in that scene.
You're right. That was a Trumpian
the Trump yank. Yeah.
Jon was so like, what's happening here? In that scene, he's like wide-eyed, like, why is he? I'm speechless.
Yeah.
But now, but I really doubt that Jon, given how willing he is to forgive just about anything, as long as they're fighting for the cause, which Jaime clearly is doing. That's why he's riding there. That's the whole point of him being there. I feel like Jon's gonna not care about some old insult from 6 seasons ago that Jaime's clearly, going against himself by showing up to fight for this threat.
That is a role that Jaime could potentially play up north if or when it comes to light that Jon and Dany are actually related. Then Jaime's relationship with Cersei might be something that, a reference point, something that maybe Jon is...
Hey, we both like incest.
Jaime's like to Jon, bro, let me talk you through this.
I've been doing this since I was real young, let me tell you. Yeah, it's not exactly the same as an aunt and a nephew, but I got some tricks for you. Yeah.
I got some stories. And the way that Jon, you're so right. The way that Jon receives him, though, I think will have a lot to do with what I like. If he shows up with troops, then Jon is definitely going to be like, we need him, we need his troops, deal with it. You know what I mean? And I think even Sansa would too.
I think so too.
That was her argument for Littlefinger. So we need him, we need his troops. Shut up.
And some of them will say, well, wait.
Has an issue.
What troops? He didn't bring any troops.
He brought Ed Sheeran. Ed Sheeran's here, guys.
He brought a black horse.
Yeah, I think it'll matter what kind of mood Jon is in. What's happened there? Has he just learned about him and Dany being related?
Oh wow!
Or
has he just learned his name is actually Aegon?
Yeah, he might be distracted, which could be good or bad for Jaime, really. But
yeah, again, it's a conundrum of what order things happen. And you're right, personal feelings matter a lot here, just like it does with Jon and Dany themselves. Jon's own feelings on incest, or his own feelings on his own parentage, and Dany's feelings on their personal reaction. It's not just like the law and just what should happen or what's right or wrong. It's a lot of this is just how they're going to personally react on a very basic level, and that matters a lot.
I don't think the math works out this way at all, but I think it would be funny if Jaime showed up to Winterfell before like Daenerys or Jon or any of those people, and he like gets there and Arya and Sansa are like, hello, and he's like, did they not say that I might be coming?
He's gonna be like, hold on guys, you need me, I'm the Kingslayer, Night Kingslayer. You need me.
Yeah.
I wonder what Sansa thinks about Jaime.
Yeah, I do wonder what Sansa thinks about Jaime too.
I was going to say, I think for a couple reasons, she will be an advocate of Jaime. One, I don't think she has a specific reason to dislike him. Her time in King's Landing, she was never slighted by him. Right?
Yeah, she didn't know about him.
He killed Jory.
Yeah.
They all like Jory. They all love Jory.
Fair.
Yeah. Did she know, though?
Yeah.
She did. Okay.
Yeah, because Jory was killed in the street, and that was... well, it's possible she doesn't know in the show. She definitely knows in the book. Okay. They talked about it.
Okay.
But I don't know why she... I don't see why she wouldn't know.
No, for sure she
did.
Yeah.
But the other reason, so that maybe there is that. But that still is... I don't know how to say this. I don't know what Sansa would think about this, especially with perspective. That wasn't a slight against her.
Remember, also, Sansa is very, very much the most worried about Cersei. Yeah. So trusting Jaime is not just,
a point against her in favor of it. Because I could see it going either way.
She's not very trusting.
Yeah.
That's so true. I can definitely see Sansa being like,
is this a trick?
He's here to spy. Yeah, he's here to spy for Cersei or something like that.
Yeah.
And Jaime's like, no, she's gone to get the gold cloaks. And she's like, lies.
Yeah. I could also see her being like, hell yeah, we took out one of the things that's most important to Cersei, Jaime. I could see if her being convinced with that.
Additionally, she seems to be similar to Jon in the, hey, we need to prepare mode.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes.
We don't have time for these petty squabbles. We got to get food. You know, she maybe is a little more focused. She hasn't seen the undead yet, but she still has this preparation for winter leadership role. She tells Arya, look, we can't go around chopping people's heads off. We have to lead. We have to manage. We have to coordinate people to work together. I think that she'll want to absorb Jaime. And
yeah, she's changed a lot. You're right. That's a great point. Like, she has matured a lot, and she is basically a different person in a lot of ways. I mean,
Since
she's
season 7, episode 1, when she wanted to throw children out of their house.
yeah, she's a little more hardcore.
She grew up a lot in like 3 episodes, but that's fine. We're racing towards the end. It's fine. We're all here.
What's funny is,
but, yeah.
It's funny that Tyrion, we come back to Tyrion here, he might be able to, if Sansa has a problem with Jaime, Tyrion could be the bridge, because Sansa has fairly positive, will have a fairly positive outlook on Tyrion, being that, A, he's already on her side, being, Dany's hand, and he treated her, pretty well, all things considered, with regards to their forced marriage, especially given her perspective, how terrible all her other marriages and other men have been to her. Tyrion is like, by comparison, he's, the best thing possible. Obviously, in a vacuum, it wasn't very ideal at all. Sansa would not have married him at all, but still, I think she has some level of trust with him, and that might help.
I think so. Although I feel like she's going to have some distrust or jealousy or envy or something towards Daenerys, and he's close with Daenerys, so maybe it'll cause conflict a little more there between her and Tyrion than you might expect.
So something I want to say real quick as we're going through these different assessments. I think it's appropriate to look at it from 2 different perspectives. I think there's going to be a first contact reaction, right? Like their initial, when they meet, what they think, how they get along. And that might be connected to things like we said, like their emotion at the moment, like what they're going through, if Jon just found out who he is or something like that, that might be different. But then there's going to be a more, I want to say long term, even though long term might be 1 episode later. But, once they've had some time to hear Tyrion's argument, to hear Jon's take, to rest on it, to sleep on it for a day, to get new information about Cersei, I think that they will have an initial reaction, but they'll also have a how they end up reaction. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I like the idea of throwing him in the cells at first, and then someone makes a case for him and he's out fairly quickly.
Yeah, because especially if, like you guys suggested, like he gets there before Jon and Dany's whole entourage arrives, and we know that they're not traveling at max speed because Dany took ship instead of going by dragon, and if they're bringing armies with them,
that slows it down.
That really slows them down.
If they've got to pack up dragon glass first, etc.
Well, it seems like they would have packed that up, but yes.
So there's some other interesting people that are involved here too. Let's throw out some other names. We've talked about Tyrion, Brienne, and Jon. As Jon's a possible advocate because he's so focused on the goals. He forgave Theon. If he forgave Theon, he can probably forgive Jaime. Although Theon has done good things already. Theon already saved Sansa, and remember that's how Jon greeted Theon. He's like, if you hadn't saved Sansa, I would kill you right now. Jaime doesn't have anything like that. Like, if you hadn't done this, he hasn't done a super, like a majorly redemptive thing to sell himself, has he?
He helped Tyrion escape.
That's true.
And
and
he pretty much let Bran and Pod escape from River Run as well, right?
Yeah, that's true.
And gave her the sword. No one else is aware that he saved King's Landing during Robert's Rebellion.
But I think Bran could be aware.
Sure. Bran might bring this up. Brienne might bring it up, and I think it would be neat to see Jaime not even have to defend himself because other people do.
Brienne's honor, you're right. That's actually, maybe we should give Brienne more credit than we first did, because you're right. Like, maybe she doesn't have a lot of authority, but she is known to be honest. And if she vouches for Jaime, like all that going that far back, like to talking even about, not even including Aerys, that's a big one. You're right.
But I just mean too, by the way, twice, right?
I just mean him keeping his vow.
Yeah.
To try as best as he could to try to keep Sansa and Aerys safe. Like Bran would be like, look, I'm out here, you guys know that I was trying to save Sansa and Arya. The reason I'm out here doing this is this guy right here. This guy right here.
This guy with the gold hand. Do you think there's any before we get to the other people on the list? Do you think there is any shot that we get to see Jaime sort of incognito for at least an episode or two because he's got the glove on his? Like he's gonna try to not be recognized as Jaime. So are we going to see him interact with like soldiers on the road or go to the inn and see hot pie or something like that as like incognito?
That
like
glove is interesting foreshadowing, isn't it?
Yeah.
That was some interesting little visual storytelling there. He didn't just ride off by himself. He covered the glove. He's wearing. I almost said wearing a black horse. Riding a black horse.
It was a real fashion statement.
Dothraki. It's Dothraki style.
Nice.
Trying to fit in.
It might be an opportunity for him. Like Arya did some like quality eavesdropping last season in the inn, hearing people talk about the sept blowing up and stuff like that. And so like it's an opportunity for Jaime to hear some things maybe. Like maybe if he does meet Lannister soldiers in the Riverlands, he can find out like what they actually think of, Team Lannister or something.
That would be neat to get the perspective of the average soldier talking about. And I'm kind of curious what it would be. Would it be like, it's about time the Lannisters finally won a victory, man? I have such pride in our people, and I wish we could. Or they were like, why are we even in this war?
Hey.
Cersei's so terrible,
You know what I realized? Jaime was easily able to pretend to be a Dornishman before. He could be a Dothraki. He can clearly pull it off.
I always forget whether he was Cooper or Darnell. But...
I never remember either, but either way, he was,
That's the other reason he needed Bronn with him. They could just do their duet. But like, we're just traveling singers. So, let's see. Who else do we have? I have this huge list of different characters and their potential reactions. So, we have Bran, who is kind of an unknown, but I guess we sort of guess that he's probably going to fall on the positive side because of how big a deal the Night King is and how Jaime, by comparison, is pretty petty. But if we think back to Bran's... Shea touched on this briefly. We think back to his flashbacks, his visions... He, back in season 6, he saw the burn them all thing. And maybe that is the dot to connect here. That all this time they were setting up Jaime going north and Bran knowing about that and being prepared. Maybe that's what they were setting up. I could see that.
That makes sense, yeah.
Yeah, because that's always been a little bit puzzling. Why is Bran seeing that particular thing in the past? Like, how does he relate to this? We saw the wildfire firsthand with the little kid and Lancel. We didn't need to see it through a vision. So that's a little bit puzzling. It's a little bit, it smells like they had something planned here that they were keeping kind of subtle. So
it could be just maybe a reminder and to set up the parallel to Cersei blowing up the sept.
Yeah, it could be.
But there could be some more depth to it. I mean, some people dig really deep and come up with theories that was the three-eyed raven telling the Mad King that he's supposed to burn the zombie. That's definitely the theory that's out there.
I think it makes perfect sense for you guys, what you guys were talking about, for it to have just have significance within that season. But that going forward, next season, it will continue to have significance because Bran has seen this event. It's telling us that Bran has seen this and he'll have something to talk to Jaime about with it.
And also, this thing we mentioned during the season, well, especially at the end of the season, because we didn't know until the end of the season how little Bran's powers would be used this season. I mean, he looked back on R + L = J, and he kept an eye on the Night King and his army. That's it. I thought there would be more flashbacks, something more related to some other things. I don't think we can say that because there weren't many in season 7 that there won't be any in season 8. I think it's pretty likely that we will get some things, but maybe, and if they confine themselves to just one or two types of visions, more like important plot points, they don't have a lot of time, this would be the one to focus on, I guess, especially since they've already sort of set it up with the previous vision.
I would love a ton of flashbacks in season 8. Like, I think it would be so cool to get Like, I almost want them to lean really heavily into the flashbacks and do. I talked about this, I think, elsewhere, but like a Lost-esque sort of like parallel between Robert's Rebellion and what's going on here, something like that. So you just like get to see a lot of characters we like and a lot of the history we know via Bran's flashback. I think that would be so fun. I don't know that they're gonna do it, but I think it would be.
They got Sam. I mean, Sam can be like, hey. He's got all his old books. He's like, hey, check this. Just go to this page. Check that.
Throw this up on the projector. Show me what this looks like.
Make season 8 just all of Sam and Bran. That's it. I'd be fine with that.
I'm so happy that Bran has Sam now to like make his scenes make a little bit more sense, I think. So.
What's their ship name? Bram? I guess it's Bram. They're Dracula. Bram Stoker.
Branwell. His name is Samwell.
Branwell. That's genius. Branwell. It fits in with his long-standing serial theme, too. Branwell.
You know, Joanna, I constantly predicted last season, or season 7, that there would be Bran flashbacks. I thought that's just like the extra time of each episode. You know, usually episodes are an hour-ish, and these are all over an hour. I thought those minutes over an hour were all going to be Bran flashbacks. And every episode I predicted, okay, this time, this episode will be the... Oh, no.
Oh my God.
Poor Sean kept being
seconds.
disappointed.
Yeah. Disappointed every week, man. I'm so sorry.
So now you're setting me up to be disappointed next season.
You're welcome. Well, you know, I guess we shouldn't forget that Bran did like rifle through the Littlefinger file, so we did do that. We didn't get to see it, but he did that. So
good point. I forgot about that. You're right.
But they're wasting. I agree. They're wasting this fun possibility. I mean, I'm on a history of Westeros, so I got to plug for like, give us more history, right? Of Westeros. Yeah.
I mean, he's shown that he can look back to the birth of Night King. That's ancient stuff right there, presumably.
You know, another meta thought that they have all these spin-offs in the works. What a great way to set them up with flashbacks. And I even wonder if maybe that's part of why we have this big delay, so they can start coordinating casts. You know what I mean? If he's going to have flashbacks, they can get the actors from this can be in the new spin-offs, right?
Just a quick Daemon Blackfire or a quick, like, couple of dragons fighting in the air, like, ooh, Dance of the Dragons, maybe?
All of Bran's flashbacks are actually backdoor pilots for all the other spin-offs.
If not, maybe someone listening to this right now will be like, oh, what do we think of that?
I'll tell you, I wish they would do that, but TV shows never seem to do that sort of thing where they like, you have the cast, you have the people, you have this ability, you just film something, put it in like a in a Google Drive folder, like save it somewhere for later and have it. But it doesn't seem like they do it. I clearly don't understand everything about television because it never happens.
My mind is really spinning on this idea of them giving a teaser for one of the spin-offs with the flashback. I don't know that the timing works because they're so in development at this point, and they're not all of them aren't going to get made. But if they're just like really sure by the time they start filming that one of them is like a front runner, maybe they could just throw in something that kind of works both ways. Like it's also like somehow relevant, but it can also work as a teaser.
I mean, there's all sorts of ways for them to do it without even getting into spending budget or money or having to decide the aesthetic of the show or anything like that. They can just do a reference to it. They can, focus on it a little more like that.
That's true.
So I think they could do it regardless. If they know what they're going to cover, I think they should incorporate mentions of these historical events in the show no matter what. I think that makes perfect sense.
I am assuming that they will have whatever flashbacks we get will be relevant to the story we're watching now.
Yeah.
But if one of them was also going to be a spin-off, let's get the same actor to play the role,
Let's get the cast. I like it.
Well, that's why I thought of Dance of the Dragons or Blackfire Rebellions, because those are both like, two different Targaryen claimants at the same time. I don't know that Jon and Dany will go to war, but it's this concept is,
Yeah, I just think it's so unlikely to get Blackfire Rebellions when
I agree,
we're not going to get Dunk and Egg, and they're so tied to each other.
Definitely not going to get Dunk and Egg, yeah.
That's just my thoughts.
Yeah, like don't cast a bunch of randos and put them in blonde wigs in season 8, and then cast some actual actors and make me pretend like you didn't use randos.
Yeah.
How many characters went that way in this show? I guess Beric Dondarrion was one of those where there was just a rando, then they actually cast him. And then
Yeah,
there
it's
was,
hard for me to say whether they were randos because like we were really into the show, so we like were paying attention to.
You're like, here's Varric. Oh my god.
Yeah.
Like,
Like I don't want to say that the old Tommen or the old Marcel, those aren't randos to me, but essentially for what you're saying, they are. If they were thinking they were going to recast them, it's the same thing.
Yeah, someone without lines, basically.
Yeah. We got a super chat from our friend Pinot123 who says Summerhall Flashback.
Ooh.
That one would be particularly
wow.
great,
Now
for
you got me thinking. That would be awesome. Just show like
that would be
wildfire
great.
melting down. Yeah. Ooh,
Yeah.
Man. That's
Especially
smart.
if we're thinking, if we're gonna have characters that we know. I mean, I've seen people speculate about like a young Tywin show or anything like there's certain characters that we know about that don't have to do with Robert's Rebellion necessarily.
I thought that Robert's Rebellion would be a good moment for them to pick because they get to include characters that the big audience is already familiar with. They can still have Ned Stark or whatever.
It seemed like the most obvious call, but they've adamantly said it's not going to be that.
Yeah, well, for one thing, there's not a lot of fantasy in that. There's not going to be any dragons in Robert's Rebellion, so that's
Very
one
true.
slice of audience that they'll miss with that. So.
Which I think is why the Dance of the Dragons is a popular suggestion.
Dance seems really popular.
Because if they want to really play off the cinematographic elements, like the whole dragon action, the wider fandom really likes that stuff.
You guys love dragons. You love blondes, right? We got a lot of blondes and dragons for you. We're just calling it blondes and dragons.
I'm gonna blow your guys'
I heard
minds.
you like.
Just give the dragons some wigs. Just put it out there. Just saying it.
Blonde dragons.
I don't recognize you, Jaime.
Incestuous dragon.
Blondes and Dragons can just be the name of the first book in the series. The next one will be Brunettes and Wolves.
Ooh. And then redheads and.
What do they
Lions? I don't know what Krakens. What's another huge?
get? Fish.
Yes, redheads and bears.
Oh, yeah, bears.
That's the Tormund and
that's right.
show. Yeah,
perfect.
We got a super chat from Aaron Hibbig. Thank you.
Thank you, Aaron.
Thank you.
Appreciate that.
Appreciate it
very much. Okay, so let's see. Get back to the pager. Who else's reactions will be interesting? So. Like we said, so Brienne and Bran can verify that. Well, Brienne can say it, and Bran can flat out verify that Jaime did try to save King's Landing. So this might actually work out for Jaime in a way that he never would have seen coming, which is that his saving of the realm that no one could believe can be proven by somebody that he didn't think existed. Like how. Yeah, somebody that he tried to kill. It's like, man, I'm glad you didn't die. You're the guy who ended up like proving that I'm a good guy, except that I am not a good guy because I shoved you out a window. Okay, how does that work exactly?
No, Aziz, I don't want to distract you from your track too much, but you just made me think of something. I can't believe I just haven't thought of before. What do we think Jaime's plan is?
Yeah, what's he going to do?
Who does he anticipate speaking to when he gets there? What argument do you think he's going to make? Does he think that they might arrest him? It didn't occur to me to think about what his intentions are when he gets there. Does he really think he's going to show up? Hey guys, I'm here to help. Okay, come sit down at the table. We'll talk about our plans.
I think two things. I think one, that is what he expects, and I think two, he expects Tyrion to be there.
Mm-hmm.
That's a good
two
point.
thoughts, but I think he just expects that. I don't think Jaime is a terribly troubled, anxious type of person.
Maybe he's not aware that Bran is there. I guess, right?
Yeah,
but how much does that change when he shows up and Bran's there? It's like,
I think he would be
maybe
worried
that's when he goes incognito. Like
if Bran was
saying.
there, you're right. I think if he knew that, he would be worried a little bit. It would,
I think you're right about the Tyrion
Not only that
thing,
Bran's there, but. Not only that Bran's there, but now Bran knows everything.
Yeah,
everything.
And Littlefinger just got his throat slit in court. Right? These little bits of news that he might get along the way that might make him second guess his plan here. Right?
That's true. Another super chat from Steven Stark.
Which Game of Thrones cast member should be on Dancing with the Stars?
Oh, that's a good one.
Who has the fastest feet? I don't know. I would say Syria Water Dancer. Yeah, I would say that. I was picturing like Oberyn Martell.
Oh, that's a good one. Also.
Adro.
Yeah. We're talking about cast member. I was thinking of the actual character, but they did say cast member, so I should have thought about that.
I feel like she wouldn't do it because she's too famous, but maybe years from now, and if she doesn't do anything else, Maisie Williams would be in it,
Oh.
right?
Ooh.
Yeah, she's her dancing. Yeah, you're right. That's
She
a
could-
great
she could
point.
dance
She
with
just
Ed
have a
Sheeran.
whole season.
Did you know that, by the way, Sean?
What's
That
that?
Maisie Williams is a dancer.
Oh, I didn't know
Dance
that.
background. Yeah,
Nice.
there's some good videos of her out there doing her dancing.
Oh, I'll have to check that
you
out.
have to look at it. Yeah, it was before Sean was into social media that this all happened. He got on Twitter within the last 6 months or something.
Welcome. You suck.
Yeah.
He's constantly like, just give me a minute. I need to look at this thing on my Twitter feed, and I'm like, oh, it's gonna be more than a minute, Sean.
I'm kind of at a loss for words here. I can't think of who else would be a good Dancing with the Stars contestant. I just keep thinking of
if we had the
Drogon
voice,
and
if we had the
Ghost.
voice, we can have Roger Ashton Griffiths.
Ace of Base dropping the yeah.
My answer is all of them. I just
Is
think
it
it should be a whole season of Dancing with the Stars with the cast of Game of Thrones.
They should have a dance off.
Dancing with the Starks.
Pants
That's
off,
what it'll
dance
be
off
called.
for the whole cast.
Dancing with the Starks. I love it.
How did How did
That was
I
our
miss
job.
that pun? How did
That
I
was our
miss that? Okay, so let's see here. Real quick, let me throw out a thanks to everyone watching live. Looks like we have a nice group here of around 300 on a Friday night. That's fun. We also have some of our regular chat mods helping us out here. Looks like we have Eliana and Jinx and LML. Thank you guys for hanging out as well. Appreciate y'all being there, and everyone else who's commenting and asking us questions and chatting amongst yourselves while we're all doing our thing here. Very cool. So let's see. Let's introduce another character into the mix here. Make it more complicated. Someone like, say, let's bring us somebody who probably doesn't have a strong opinion either way. Because maybe I'm wrong. Maybe we should have a strong opinion on it. Like Missandei. I don't know that Missandei has a lot of opinion on Jaime, but she might say
like, damn, that guy's handsome.
Yeah. Okay. Maybe she should be on Dancing with the Stars. But she would counsel, she would certainly want to counsel, everybody working together on this great threat, I would think. She wasn't a big part of season 7, so
no.
She's kind of getting famous on her own way.
She's also generally not like big with the opinions.
Yeah.
Generally, you know what I mean? She's not gonna like put forward an opinion.
She
if
should
Daenerys
be.
Asked her.
She should be. Yeah.
I'm not saying she shouldn't be, but like it was only when like Tyrion's like, "Hey, let's make deal with slave traders," that she's like, "Yeah, I have an opinion on that." But otherwise, she generally just waits for Daenerys to like sort of ask her a question.
We'll say Daenerys asks her though. Say that Jaime comes, they have this initial meeting, they decide to lock him up and talk about it, and then Dany goes to her chambers and says, "Well, Missandei, what do you think?" What would Missandei say? I think she's gonna say, "Look, it's a new time. We've got new issues. Transgressions of the past are being forgiven. We should accept his help." That's what I would predict from her.
I think, I think I'm with you on that. Yeah, I could see maybe if she's just so mad about him killing her father that Missandei.
If Daenerys is mad.
Yeah, that Missandei wouldn't argue too much with that. She's like, well, she's mad. I'm not going to try to change her mind, but she might kind of try to put things in perspective and let that do the work for her. Not just flat out say, "Oh, you're wrong about Jaime."
I don't think Dany will be mad about it either. You know what I mean?
No.
I think that she doesn't have a particular emotional attachment to her father and has admitted that he was a bad person.
Yeah.
She understands that he was a menace, So I do expect her to use it as leverage. I expect her to put Jaime in his place, but to not actually care. Does that make sense?
That makes sense, yeah. What do you think, Joanna?
Yeah, no, I mean, with Daenerys, I mean, I don't mean to like jump ahead in your notes, but I think
Feel free.
If Daenerys is going to care about something, it's not going to be her dad dying. It's going to be like the Lannisters trying to kill her, right? So, she's going to be like, "What did you think when Team Lannister sent assassins after me and my child?" And Jaime's going to be like, "Oh, I was in Dorne at the time. I don't know." He wasn't, but he could say that. I mean, like that's the thing is like I don't remember Jaime ever really saying anything terrible about Daenerys. You know what I mean? Like before he met her, he did try to kill her with a lance, But you know, it's the
Yeah.
heat of battle. You know, what are you gonna do?
She tried to kill him with a dragon.
There you go. So yeah.
Yeah, she tried to kill him and all his friends. Yeah. Well, we both tried to kill each other, so we're even now, right?
So we're good, right? You basically won. I'm here supplicating myself to you. So yeah.
Yeah, will he bend the knee? She'll demand he bends the knee. I think you think he'll bend the knee.
Yeah.
I think he will.
Guess so.
Will she demand that? I feel like Daenerys is like, I'm. That was so season 7. Season 7 of me. Right now, I'm on team. Let's kill the asshole who killed my dragon. Right? Like that's her. I don't know.
Yeah, if he had actually succeeded in killing her dragon, I think that would change a few things.
I think it would change a few things, obviously, but I also think that, again, it can't be understated how pivotal Bran is going to be here. If Dany meets Jaime without Bran around and she says, well, you killed my father, you know, I can't let that go. If Bran's around, he would say, no, your father was about to destroy King's Landing, and he might be a more objective person to weigh in on that than Jaime himself, if Jaime would even defend himself in the first place.
I see Amber here in the chat once points out that she might want to know what role Jaime had in the deaths of her niece and nephew. She may not know the story, that it was Gregor and Amory Lorch. And he could honestly claim that he had nothing to do with that, though he might, you know, throw his father under the bus and be like, yeah, our father might have ordered that, though.
Which, again, Bran could corroborate.
Like, yes, Bran is going to save Jaime's butt, I think, potentially here, which is very ironic, isn't it?
You know, I have a slightly extended thought here I want to share. Just some thoughts on Jaime in general. Because I went into this show because of people like Aziz and a lot of my friends and coworkers who love the show, love the books. And the show was coming out. I hadn't read the books, so like, you got to watch the show. And I knew that some of my friends who were, I'm going to say, good people, thought that Jaime was their favorite character. And so right off the bat, I kind of knew to take, you know, characters that may be being presented as villains, there's more to it, you know. And I feel like in general, there's this idea that Jaime's gone through this redemption arc. And that the turning point was when he tells Brienne about why he killed her.
Yeah, maybe that's like the starting point.
Right.
Yeah.
I have a little bit of a different perspective, and I might just be wrong about this, but just so you know, my perspective is that I don't think he needs to be redeemed. I think that any more than almost any other character on the show. That, like, the first thing we do is see him kill this kid, but when you take a step back and think about what's really happening there, he's trying to stop.
Take a step back from killing a kid.
He's trying to stop a war. Lots of other... John killed a kid, too. Lots of other characters that are sort of heroes of the show that no one's talking about they need a redemption arc have done things at least as terrible. The thing in my mind that Jaime has done wrong, if you will, is be too arrogant to feel the need to explain himself. Does that make sense? I think a lot of the things he's done, at least on some level, are justifiable, at least relative to the things that the other characters have done. But he's just too arrogant to feel like he needs to justify himself. And he did to Brienne. And so maybe in that moment, that's like the beginning of a redemption arc. But since then, he still hasn't. He still doesn't feel the need to justify himself to anyone. So I think maybe...
I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
I was going to say, I think if he gets to King's Landing, and this is his moment to justify himself, if he humbles himself...
You mean Winterfell?
Sorry.
Okay, cool.
Winterfell. If he gets to Winterfell and says, this is why I did the things I did. Yeah, I killed Bran. Yeah, I was having an affair with my sister. Yeah, I killed the king. But I was worried if I didn't kill Bran that my family would be killed and a war would start. I was worried that if I didn't kill the king, that King's Landing would be burned down. That... et cetera, et cetera. Yeah, I'm in a situation with my sister because we grew up together in Ivory Tower, and I genuinely love her, and I admit to the mistake. Right, you know, yeah. I think that if you can admit to the things that he's done and offer up his explanations, even if maybe they're not justifiable explanations, the fact that he would feel the need to offer up an explanation, to me, that's his redemption arc. If he has one or needs one or is going to get one.
I have something to say, but I want to let Joanna go ahead because she's been waiting.
No, I have a heart, like, I forgive Jaime entirely for killing Aerys. I think that was actually a noble thing to do. And I'm actually more mad about Jory, the dagger through the eye of Jory, than I was ever about Bran going out the window, to be honest with you. Because Bran's fine. But I don't think that Jaime can justify pushing Bran out the window as, like, I was thinking of my family. Because, you know, he's just, like, he's such a dick when he does it. And I love Jaime, and I'm here for any and all redemption arcs, or they're more like redemption parabolas. Like he keeps going up.
That's a good description.
Parabola.
I'm here for it, but like I don't know that he can really justify pushing Bran out the window. I think he can only say I was a different person then, and I learned a lot. And I think I think Bran can attest to that. But like the problem is the show, like the problem with calling it a redemption arc, is that it is arc like in the books, and it just hasn't been in the show because they have been unwilling to pull the trigger on this like Jaime Cersei separation. And so they sort of just sucked Jaime back in to like full team scheming Lannister. And that's a problem. Because like what he goes through in the books and what he learns and when he decides what he decides, like that feels more like plotted points on an arc. And this feels more like we didn't really know what to do with him for a couple seasons, so we sent him to Dorne, and then we put him in River Run because that's where he goes in the books. But like, I don't know. And then he just keeps coming back to Cersei, and he keeps coming back to Cersei. You know, so it's so much messier in the show.
Maybe it's not. Yeah, you touched on something that is exactly where I wanted to go with this, which is something that Sean was getting at also. Maybe it's not that. Maybe it's just that the word redemption arc is wrong. It gives the wrong connotation. Because I think it might just be that he's becoming a person that cares about more than himself, that's what's different before. Maybe that's not redemption. Maybe that's maturity or just becoming a good guy. I don't know what you would call that.
Less selfish, and I mean, part of the selfishness is not even exactly selfishness. It is if you count Cersei as an extension of himself, but he's willing to do some awful things for love, presumably. But I mean, it's just shown in the fact that they're twins that it's this narcissistic love that they have. So I think that's part of why the love that they have, in addition to the incest and all that, it just seems less pure or noble or all these things, even though he pushes Bran out the window for Cersei. He does it because she gives him that look, and he knows that he has to do what she says, which is why we maybe respect him less or think of it as even darker, because he's just doing someone's bidding, essentially.
And also, Cersei is always like, it's just us. We're the only ones who matter. We're the only ones who matter. So that's the thing that's really changed for Jaime. He's like, no, we're not. Other people matter too.
The thing I think about a lot is you guys have read that 3-page letter that George R.R. Martin sent to HarperCollins, right?
Yeah. Yes, we have.
I have not.
So I don't think it's a spoiler to say, like, there's some stuff in there that maybe I would consider a spoiler, but I wouldn't consider this a spoiler, that like that Martin initially intended Jaime to be much more of a villainous character. That like it was, Jaime was going to kill all the people in his way and sit on the Iron Throne, and like, so that knowing that Martin had initially intended Jaime to be sort of like the Cersei figure, almost, I would say. It makes sense that he pushes a kid out the window right at the beginning, and that almost, to me, feels more like a leftover of like his original plan for Jaime. And then later he's like, no, I'm gonna do this other thing with Jaime. But that decision to like take a character who starts the story pushing a kid out the window and make him someone that like we're willing to spend 2 hours discussing what's going to happen when he gets north because we care about him as an interesting character. That's an amazing thing that Martin accomplished, and the show has done for a while did a good job of delivering on, I would say. So
let's see, we got a super chat from Nolan Ryan. Thank you. There's no message attached, but you can still get it to us if you want us to say anything.
Yeah, appreciate that, Ryan.
I also wanted to point out Ileana, who has been on our show and stuff like that. She points out in the chat that in Jaime's POV in the books, he says he pushed Bran out the window because he was mad that Bran interrupted him finally getting laid there.
Yeah, and he obviously didn't care much about the children either. Yeah, his own children. It was really just
whether the show is the same as the books in that respect, we don't know, but it's a point against that.
Well, it also argues more for a redemption arc, or like that he does care about these kind of things now that he didn't care about before. Maybe redemption isn't your preferred term, but you can see that he's changed.
I mean, he did very recently. Didn't he very recently threaten to put a baby in like a trebuchet?
He did do that. He really did do that. Yes.
He did do that.
That
And I
happens.
still like him a lot. So I
And,
don't
right,
know.
and again, I know this is awkward. I know this is weird, me like trying to defend these awful things.
You defended Littlefinger. This is
always
nothing.
our devil's advocate. If you don't know that,
But-
now.
and it also is fair to point out what Jaime's actual motivations are might be different than the results that we get from it. But these different things that he has done that seem so awful are stopping wars. And no one likes the idea of hurting a baby. But if you had to choose, like this is a common philosophical question, if you kill one little baby or a train full of thousands of people, which one do you choose? It's not like you want to kill the baby, but if you have to choose between those two, it's better for the one baby to die than the train full of people.
The thing
Jaime's
is,
trying
of
to
course,
stop wars from
those
occurring.
kind of situations rarely actually are. It's rarely that simple.
It's really that simple, but making a simple
never that simple.
Making a simple analogy.
Oh, it's been that
lets
simple
you
for
think
me.
about the less simple scenarios that come up, and
Yeah.
it's the same with the whole King's Council, right? Robert, Littlefinger, Pycelle, Renly, Varys all sat there trying to convince Ned to kill this one little girl to stop a war in the future.
It's true.
And we don't talk about how Varys needs a redemption arc. We don't talk about, Littlefinger was just a straight up bad guy. Robert, died pretty good. But my point is that Jaime wasn't even part of that. If Jaime had been there and he had also been arguing, yes, just kill the girl. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
We would add that. We would lump that in with the terrible things that Jaime's done. But
I don't want to disregard your point, but I do want that for Varys. Not like a redemption arc per se, but I think there's a lot of complexities and moral, grayness in the things that he does and the dark things that he does and why he does them. And I don't know. It just is a side point, but even for in his case, yeah.
yeah.
I hope for that in the books, but I think the show's version of that was like that one uncomfortable scene where Daenerys like calls him out. And he's like, "Yeah,
I agree. I definitely agree. They
know?
just kind of wrote themselves into a box there with
Right.
cutting out things integral to his plot line. So I don't know about that, but I mean we see it in the books. This complexity that maybe he cares more about highborn children than he does about the lowborn children, or anything like that. There's more to him, but I think that he's dark, and I would like to see him grow or learn things more. I would like to see that, even if he maybe already has.
Yeah, I think it's
Anyways.
one thing the show does is it not only on the level of characters kind of pitch them gray. You can't just say this person's good and this person's bad.
Yeah.
There's layers in between all that. And I think they do the same thing with political or philosophical topics.
Yeah.
Like it's not Ned wants to be this honest, honorable man, and sometimes in a leadership position you have to lie. You know what I mean? Everyone told Jon, why didn't you lie? You know what I mean? All the characters, they're pretty much protagonistic characters, were encouraging someone to lie for a greater good. And this is a common thing, a theme, I think, of Game of Thrones. And I'm trying to maybe give Jaime too much credit for not being this pure evil bad guy in the first place, that he certainly isn't a pure white hat good guy.
I mean, you gotta
either,
think about it, he was raised
but-
by Tywin Lannister.
Exactly.
So,
Which not only is that going to instill some sort of maybe ruthlessness and utilitarianness in him, but also maybe some sort of need to put on an air for his dad's sake. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Some things he might think are wrong or inappropriate or negative or bad, but he can't talk bad to his dad, so he just does what he's told, just like Sandor, just killed the butcher boy and just doing what I'm told. Not that that necessarily justifies it, but not that it makes them pure evil either. They're
Right.
characters who have torn loyalties.
It is really hard to put ourselves in their place because of how different this world is, but
And I don't think that any of us at this point would consider Jaime a pure evil character. I think that he had his moments, like when he killed his cousin to escape prison. Like there wasn't anything
That
other
was
than
pretty
self-preservation at
Yeah.
play there.
It was
That was
also
pretty evil,
unnecessary. I
especially
almost literally have just blocked that out because the whole purpose of that was to get the guards' attention, right? Why didn't they just say, "Hey guards, come over here. There's a fire. He's escaping." Why do they have to? Why do you have to actually beat him to death to get the guards? That's so frustrating to me.
Kill that poor Lannister.
Like
Like one of the nice Lannisters. But when you talk about, it's so funny. I just did not expect to come on this and be like not the most defensive of Jaime. So I'm really glad that you're more defensive of Jaime.
it's not Jaime specific, let me tell you. He likes to defend the Night King. No,
Sean always
King
plays
is more
devil's
defensive.
advocate.
I think he is more
Night
maybe
King's
than
advocate.
Jaime.
Night King's advocate.
But
right?
yeah.
But it's hard to know. It's hard to really try to predict what's going to happen in the final season or the final confrontation or who lives or who dies because, like, if we've learned anything from George R. R. Martin, it's that he always is going to subvert our expectations. But I'm not sure that that's what the HBO series is anymore.
Mhm.
These are two different things. But when you talk about a redemption arc or parabola or whatever you want to call it for Jaime, I feel like there's major opportunities for him to be a poignant sacrificial death more than almost anyone else. Because if you talk about his arc being moving from thinking of himself to thinking of other people, and then the ultimate version of that is him sacrificing himself for someone else, preferably Brienne, because that would just mean a lot to me. Then him, I know we all expect that he and Cersei will probably kill each other or something like that, but him sacrificing himself for the greater good is one of the more poignant things I could think of in the final season. Because they're real strong heroic types who might do that I you'll be like, yep, you were heroic before and here you are doing that now. But with Jaime,
he already tried to do it. He charged. He made a suicide charge into that dragon. Yeah. He was ready to go down in flames to end the war right there.
Yeah, maybe that was foreshadowing. That's interesting.
Yeah.
I'll say also, in terms of him killing Cersei, we have 6 episodes. He's got to get up north, do a bunch of things there, and still get back to Cersei and King's Landing.
Or Cersei also come up north.
If the episodes are as long as they're saying that it sounds like they will be, that might actually
be. And they can play liberally with
than,
timelines and jumping, and maybe maybe the Night King thing is resolved, and then Cersei dies. She doesn't have to die before that. I could see it happening in the aftermath.
We got a couple more super chats, but we'll come back to this question in a second. Something that Joanna brought up that I think is really interesting, and it actually touches on another question we got ahead of time, which is, I'll look for it while we handle these other super chats.
We got a super chat from Danny Jeter. No question attached, so let us know if you have anything. Then we got one from Craig Mulvey. Could Jaime disguise himself? Are his honorable acts more honorable because he doesn't have honor? And then, Sean, I'm coming for your beard title. I see.
Watch out.
It's a guild, actually. It's not just one title. Multiple people can have be card-carrying members of the guild.
Like Abby in Broad City. Can you imagine if there was just a rogue beard snipper running?
That would be an evil person.
But anyways, to answer the question, we kind of had already addressed this a little bit in terms of whether he could be disguised and why he might be disguised. But you might have more to say.
I think he should disguise himself. I think that's correct. I think the covering of his hand is part of that, and I think he wants to be incognito. He doesn't want some random northerner to be like, "Holy crap, that's the Kingslayer! Get him!" He needs to get to Winterfell kind of unimpeded, so that he can talk to people that will protect him.
Danny about one random person who decides they want to be the person that killed you. Jaime might be putting himself in danger traveling through undisguised. So, and as he gets closer, if he does become aware that Bran is there, Littlefinger was killed in court, maybe it will add to his need or desire to be in disguise.
Right on.
I'll be surprised if he makes it all the way up without it, because in season when he and Bran get recognized on the road, he had both his hands then. He was beardy and dirty and long haired, and they're like, "Isn't that the Kingslayer?" So it's not like his face is on money or whatever, but apparently his face is famous enough that he can be recognized through a beard. So with that gold hand, we'll just have to not clunk his gloved gold hand down on things. They'll be like, "What's that clang? Is your hand made of gold? Are you the Kingslayer?"
No, it's silver. It's silver.
It's fine.
There's a lot of beard discussion in the comments now.
We also we got Danny Jeter's subject in here.
Okay.
If Jon Snow tells everyone that he is not a Stark, doesn't it mean House Stark will lose its last male and die off? Well, not necessarily. It's a lot more complicated than that. It depends on who decides. If Jon's the king, he decides if he's a Stark. If he decides he's not a Stark, he isn't. But regardless, Sansa isn't going to just marry someone and take their name if that happens. She's going to marry someone and they're going to take her name. Yeah,
it's allowable for the when, and not uncommon when this spot happens, that the more powerful house name passes down rather than the man's name.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, I can. There's a couple of cases.
Learn something something new every day on History of Westeros.
Well, thank you. There's like some of these houses have existed for so long.
Yeah.
In fact, I think one of those times it was the daughter, the wildling, the story of the Blue Rose. That, of course, is associated with Elena, but the other story, the Bael the Bard story, that's a good example of that. When there was just this girl that's half wildling, half Stark, that's the only one, and she continued the line. So, they can do that. In order to prevent a house from just going away because of marriage, that's legally allowed in Westeros.
Also, you can imagine all sorts of new precedents being established with. Right now, the current leader of Westeros is a queen, and the person challenging her is another queen.
And
another, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, and Sansa's sitting at the seat at Winterfell doing a good job. I feel like these types of questions are maybe interesting to ask, but I don't think it's I feel like there's no chance that the way this ends is, the Stark line is finished. That's it. No, that's not what's going to happen.
Yeah, I agree. There's got to be something.
Unless Sansa dies.
Yeah.
Well, unless some other tragedy happens, but it's not going to be because Jon wasn't really Ned's son, you know.
And Arya's like, I don't want kids. And Bran's like, I'm not even human anymore.
I'm not Bran. Okay, well, so I've got this next question ready for us. But what's that?
Was someone do the disguise question?
Oh no, I wanted to do our mid-roll stuff real quick.
Oh, okay.
And a lot of Joanna, we're getting a lot of comments about how happy people are to see you here with us today.
Oh,
you and your hair.
Yeah, people not only about just you being here, but comments on people loving your hair as well.
Yeah.
Thanks, guys.
So all that good stuff. So we're gonna do this again at the end, but just in case not everyone stays for the whole episode. So just in case, let everybody know where to find you and all that, and we'll do this again at the end. So just people know all the places they can find Joanna Robinson's greatness.
My greatness.
Your greatness. Leave off the places where they can't find your greatness. Just the great ones.
Sure. You can find me on vanityfair.com. You can follow me on Twitter at Joe Wrote This. I do a Game of Thrones podcast called Storm of Spoilers. That's in its off season right now, which means we do whatever we want to do.
What is that going to be next? What do you guys have next on tap?
They're going to do Rick and Morty.
Oh,
next.
Okay.
Yeah,
nice,
so that's coming. And we just did Tremors, which was amazing. And then I do an award season podcast called Little Gold Men. So if you are both a Game of Thrones fan and really into the Oscar race, then have I got a podcast for you.
Oh, cool.
So,
right on. Yep. It's lots of different places to find Joanna, so that is great. And yeah, check her out in whichever of those places strike your fancy. You guys, a lot of you all, if you haven't heard of Joanna, you probably read her articles in Vanity Fair. You may not realize it's the same person.
Definitely.
But her articles are they're out there a lot. They're, among the most read Game of Thrones articles that there are. So that is very good. Also, I want to give some thanks to some more patrons. This time we salute our Ironborn captains. That would be Kathleen the Ruthless, captain of the Night Terror, motto Don't Fall Asleep. Black Maddow's Storm Rider, captain of the Rusted Hinge. Rebea, Lady of Waves, captain of the Iron Shadowcat. Tusk Shield, breaker captain of Kraken's Fury. Oisan the Wanderer, captain of Naga's Living Flame. Sir Selvas Redblade of White Harbor, captain of Trident of the North. Lord Chucklaws is captain of the Dromund Nightblood, destroyer of evil. Madzak is captain of the Red Wake. Heron Burntbeard is captain of the Smoking Narwhal. John Gregor is captain of the Fist of the Drowned God. Karis Farwind is called Seal Speaker, Oracle of Lonely Light, motto The Eyes in the Waves. Sir Kiron of Lonely Light is Scourge of the Sunset Sea, captain of Naga's Breath, a Droman armed with siphons of wildfire. Aileen is Archer Queen, captain of the Border Collie. Crimson Kate is captain of the Drowned Queen's Vengeance. And Jasana the Just, collector of tolls, is captain of the Golden Gift.
There's some new names there.
Yeah, a couple of new ones in there. Also, thanks to Sir Valentin DeGen, creator of the Game of Predictions website. That's gameofpredictions.org. And it is a free futures market where you can make predictions or bet on existing predictions as for what will happen in the rest of the series, the rest of the books. You got virtual money to play with, and I highly recommend checking it out. It's fun. Also, thanks to our Blood Riders. That includes Koholkoi, Master of the Bow, called Sunpiercer, and Vorsaki, wielder of the Valyrian Steel Arak with a dragonbone hilt. Thanks to you all. That is very helpful. We appreciate all the patronage. You can go to historyofwesteros.com and click on the Patreon link on the right side if you want to see what this is all about. You can find out more at through that link about all the different titles and giveaways that we have scheduled, things like titles and access to episodes early, occasional Patreon hangouts, things like that. Lots of fun stuff. Check it out when you get the chance. And that is that for our mid-roll announcements. Let's get back to it. The question that you touched on briefly, Joanna, that somebody wanted to know specifically about is Jaime and Cersei dying, or just in general, how are they going to die? What is that going to be? So the question here, actually, I'll read the question fully. This is from Thomas Pappas, who is a.k.a. Jaime Helminth, the Sellsword Sentinel. I would love to hear everyone's best guess as to how show Jaime's story arc will come to an end. Will he die in Brienne's arms after selflessly sacrificing himself, kind of like what you said, maybe without the specifics, but something along those lines? A sword in his hand and a curse on his lips? Or will the show end with him on the Iron Throne swaddling a blonde-haired babe? A suicide charge and an ice dragon, maybe? Inquiring minds must know. Good question, covering all the bases there. So that is tough. And I know that as book readers and show watchers, there's some different ideas going around here. So I think we'll maybe get a little bit of a variety on answers. Joanna, do you have a take on this? Do you already have a thought on your best guess for Jaime's death? I know there's several possibilities out there. Which one do you favor, or do you have one that's kind of different?
I mean, it's so interesting. The Valonqar sort of prophecy thing is so interesting because, like, it's not something they've mentioned at all on the show, even a little bit, right? They specifically cut that out. Mm-hmm. But, like, the fandom is so convinced of it, not just, like, book readers, but it's seeped into non-book readers because enough people have written articles about it that non-book readers are like, well, I heard that, Jaime has to kill Cersei, of course. Like, that's how it's going to happen. And, I mean, it makes sense, like, for his arc, but I still like, if there's a way to wrap up Jaime killing Cersei, dying in the process, because I think the show at least is setting up some sort of mutually assured destruction. That's what I took away from when Lady Olenna, as she's dying, she's like, Cersei will be your downfall, and he's like, yeah, but
I can't get off this train.
So it felt that felt like prophetic to me. Is like they knew when they were going in season 8, Jaime and Cersei on some sort of like mutually assured destruction path. But if they could throw in with that some element of self-sacrifice, like killing Cersei, though it will be hard for Jaime to do, will save the realm, and he dies in the process, and Brienne finds him at the last moment. I want it all. That's nice. What I want.
I see someone named Thraxis in the chat says that Jaime's going to take the black and become the next Lord Commander of the Night Watch. That would be interesting, given how he mocked them in the first episode. That would be kind of an interesting turnaround, and it would maybe fit with his black cloak and black horse that he was riding off with. Now, LML follows that question up with, has a Kingsguard ever joined the Night's Watch? Well, technically Jaime isn't in the Kingsguard anymore, but the answer is yes. There was at least one example, and that would be Lucamore the Lusty, who had a bunch of kids while he was in the Kingsguard with multiple women, which is obviously not allowed. So he had his baby-making parts hacked off, and he was sent to the wall. So he didn't join on purpose, but that would be the only example I know of. So, yeah, normally Kingsguard serve for life.
Was Janis Slint he was in the Kingsguard, right?
No, he was City Watch, head of the City Watch, yeah.
He was City Watch.
Yeah.
All right. Different golden armor.
All those things.
There's certainly been some other cases where Kingsguard maybe could have been sent to the wall, but instead they were killed.
Yeah, they were executed or just died or whatever happened to those Kingsguard. And there's, of course, a lot of Kingsguard whose stories we don't know, so there might be some more. Okay, so let us see. What other questions we have? Let's continue with some of the Patreon questions we got ahead of time. Let's see here. Lord Botchington. Now, this is related to some of the other questions we have, but it's a little bit different. Again, yes, Lord Botchington is a great name. Jaime and Cersei have to be near each other when one or both of them dies, right? Certainly their bond is not completely broken. Well, Joanna was just touching on that. That's maybe a little too Valonqar-ish of thinking, which the show doesn't have to abide by. I think the book I think I'd be settled on that I think I would pick that as the likely thing for the book, but I just don't know about the show that way. I'm not very confident.
I really did like the idea that was floated after Littlefinger was killed, that Arya could keep his face somehow and go to King's Landing and take out Cersei. If Cersei's not going by Jaime's hands, I want it to be either just the onslaught of the undead and the Night's King, just like, you fool, you should have helped, or Arya coming for her.
We floated this on Storm Spoilers, which I really like, which is because I think it might be Jaime who does it, but if in the show they decide to do Arya and they decide to do the Littlefinger thing, and Littlefinger's death was like the problem with that theory is that Littlefinger's death was so public, right? Like it happened in the middle of the throne room, so like keeping his death a secret from Cersei is gonna be hard. But if they were to do that, and if Arya were to put on Littlefinger's face, and if Arya were to go down to King's Landing with the Hound, this is something my co-host suggested. It's like the Hound and Arya's Littlefinger square off against Cersei in the mountains. The Hound says something like, I'll take the big one, or something like that, you know, and then they just go. Wish fulfillment there.
Yeah.
Here's not a question, but just another message for you, Joanna. Courtney Gax says, so excited for a podcast, almost crossover, as Joanna is one of my favorite pop culture critics.
Oh, thanks, Courtney.
Right on.
I'm happy. I love doing this, you guys, and I hope we can all do more crossovers in the future. And if you guys want to see all your favorite podcasters together, Crown of Thrones.
Crown
of Thrones 2018. Come see us.
Heck yeah. Yeah, we definitely love having a community that's so easy to, move around and talk to each other with.
We'll be in your neighborhood next year. I assume you'll be there. I'm Joanna. WorldCon is in San Jose next year, the World Science Fiction and Fantasy Convention, and George R. R. Martin is one of the guests.
Come on down, guys.
Yeah, we'll definitely be there. I used to live in the
right?
Bay Area. Yeah, so I have a bunch of friends there. I'm excited to go there. That's not till next August. It's a long time from now.
Yeah.
But this is telling all of you to go to WorldCon San Jose.
And we'll have, maybe, I wouldn't hold out hope for TWOW being out then, but maybe we'll have Fire and Blood.
Yeah, some Fire and Blood stuff, or at least a part 1 of Fire and Blood. We got a super chat real quick.
All right.
From LMC. Thanks for the solid Season 7 content, for addressing the positive and negative, and for inviting the larger Game of Thrones community to join you. Keep it up.
All right. Well, we will. We will definitely do that. We have other guests planned, and you know what? Maybe this is a good time to mention our potential guest for next week, because Joanna is going to be excited about this when you hear this one. This is really random.
It is very random. Sean, you watch You're the Worst, right, Joanna? You tweeted about it. We love the show. All three of us, one of the things we love about it is one of the main characters, one of the featured characters, Vernon, has his own podcast, Vernon Down the House with Red Napkin, and the show, every time it just cracks me up so much. They have this like very professional setup in there that Beck is part of. Anyways, it's the whole thing. Sean tweeted at him and was like, goals are to get Vernon Down the House on Westeros history. And he said, he was like, sure, sounds easy enough, let's schedule it. And so he's gonna be on our show.
That really happened like 2 days ago.
Yeah,
that's amazing.
It's a very random guest.
So fun.
But I'm excited.
So he hasn't actually seen the show yet.
Yeah.
So part of it's we're gonna try to convince him to watch it. And then he said that if we do convince him to watch it, he might come back a few months later after watching it to talk about it again.
Oh, nice.
So, yes,
so it's very
super
random
excited.
situation. So you guys can all look forward to that hopefully next week. We have to deal with his schedule, but hopefully we'll be recording it next Wednesday.
We'll have to see what he tries to convince us to watch, too.
Yeah, he's already tried to convince me to watch one thing, and I'm going to watch the first couple episodes for him so I can... My plan is to watch the show Claws, and he said it's his favorite on TV right now.
Which
I'm
watched
sure
it?
it's good. Do you watch it?
Yeah, well, I haven't watched the whole season.
Okay, cool.
Yeah,
I haven't seen any of it.
What you said.
Claws. It's a TNT show with Niecy Nash about women working in a nail salon.
An hour-long drama.
Okay, I know the show. Yeah.
Dark comedy, drama type thing. Anyways, that's what he said his favorite was, which surprised the hell out of me. But I figure I already feel like there's probably a lot of like intrigue and like fierce women. So like I'm thinking that I'm gonna gear my recommendation of Game of Thrones around that. I'm gonna say everything that's similar in Claws.
Nice.
Okay, well let's go through a few more characters that we haven't talked about yet. Most of these are Mostly just kind of like, I don't know what kind of reaction they might have, but some of them are going to have pretty strong reactions. Along the lines of Missandei, someone that we probably don't need to spend much time on is Grey Worm. I don't know that Grey Worm will have a strong opinion. He's not from Westeros. He doesn't have his mind wrapped up in the struggles that existed in Westeros before his time. What's that?
He's a little taciturn as well. He's not the,
that's true,
most vocal guy.
You're right.
Yeah.
Though they might have like general, because like Jaime is a general, right? And Grey Worm's a general. So like, if Jaime does get drafted to the cause, I don't know if there'll be like battling generals or something like that. So
one interesting thing about Jaime is that he can, if he's trying to sell himself as an ally, like look how useful I can be. Besides being, a brave fighter, which that reputation precedes him. I don't think anyone's gonna, challenge him on that aspect. But he's actually faced a dragon. He's been on the other side of the dragon. No one on Dany or Jon's side has actually faced a dragon in battle. They've had the dragon on their side in battle, but the Night King now has a dragon. Jaime's like, yeah, let me tell you how awful it is to be on the wrong side of that.
yeah.
So that's some interesting perspective. I'm not sure that that's a major selling point, but I think that's an interesting point of bit of interest there.
Do you think the show has done a good job of showing Jaime as like a strong military force? So like he wins at River Run through sort of strategy and leading on Edmure. He took High Garden by doing exactly what his brother didn't think he was going to do. So that was smart enough, I guess. And he lost to a dragon, but it was a dragon. So
yeah, I feel like that was it's some of it's how they present it to us and how it was edited or whatever. But to me, it looked kind of like a close battle. And if the dragon wasn't there, they would have won. Like, those Lannister men held their ground against those cavalry charging in at them, It didn't seem like they were just swept over and instantly lost this battle. It seems like the fight went on for some time, despite this dragon burning up everything. So
that's a good point.
It's true. And Bronn winged, Bronn got to wing the dragon. So it was a closer match than it might have otherwise been. That's true.
As for Jaime being a good military mind or anything like that, I feel like this past season they did show us that. I mean, I think the biggest one to me was them ditching Casterly Rock, which was quite a play, but it really worked out for them, and it was Jaime's idea, I guess. And
when he meets with Tyrion, Tyrion's like, "Boy, you really out-generaled me. You were 3 steps ahead."
Yeah, I'm a general. Well, what do you think? It's like you were raised to do a bunch of other things.
I would like Jaime to be like, "You were in charge? Why don't I have you in charge? You've never."
Tyrion's like, "Battle of Blackwater, man. I kind of worked for a while. It was working."
He's like, "You almost lost your nose in that thing." Yeah. That's.
I think that I believe that they've presented him as a competent leader, at least. But to really show them being a good general would require details that the show's just not going to get into. Like a lot of being a good military is going to be things like organizing logistics and training, things that it's not like this tricky decision you made right at this battle. It's the training you've done for the past 6 months, things like that, and it's hard for a show to really show that.
Right. It's the delegation that you have.
Exactly. In fact, they've done it. They've done that with Sansa as much as they've done it with Jaime or any of the other military leaders. They've virtually done none of it with Grey Worm. You know what I mean?
I see someone asking if Jaime has Widow's Wail. That is I believe that's confirmed. Yeah, you can tell by how it looks. A lot of people have noticed that that's definitely Widow's Wail. So yeah, he's up there with the other half of Ice, which that's a whole nother thing. I don't know how people, with so many things happening, I don't know that anyone's going to care too much about that sword, but it's a thing that might come up.
I think if you're on the show and you have a Valyrian steel weapon, then you're probably going to get to at least try to take out a White Walker at some point, right? So like Arya, Brienne, and then I'm guessing Sam is going to give Heartsbane to someone else. And I don't know if you guys have any theories about, no offense to Sam. He can try to fight with it if he wants, but like if he wants to give it to someone else, like, I don't know if you guys have any theories about who that would be or...
I hadn't thought about that.
And Jorah are both decent candidates. They're other strong warriors.
I'm hoping for
Sandor.
I'm hoping for Jorah.
Sandor. I didn't even think of Sandor. He's got to go south though.
Yeah.
Oh, it says
Yeah, a bunch of people said we were back. I don't know how.
Oh, now
I
it's
think
back,
they might have been. I don't know when they got cut off there, but
okay. A couple people had issues. Might have been on our end. In any case, we're back now.
The idea was who might get Widow's Wail if someone gets Widow's Wail from Jaime, and the candidates that we mentioned were Jorah and Sandor and Tormund.
Yeah,
and...
someone. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I thought. Sorry, I might have dropped out. I meant if Samwell were to give his Valyrian steel.
Oh, you're talking about Heartsbane.
Heartsbane. Yeah.
Talking about Heartsbane.
Yeah, cool.
Like I feel like Jaime and Brienne and Arya will all use their Valyrian steel very well, like in battle sort of thing. But then Sam will probably give Heartsbane to someone. I would think Jorah, but who knows? And then obviously Longclaw will just keep Longclawing it up. So
Jorah's a good candidate. I think Sandor is another one because it's a giant sword. It's a big weapon, so that might really, and it would be cool to see him with a big old sword like that.
Yeah,
I would like that. Also,
Heartsbane is fitting for Jorah because his Heartsbane is like his issue. His heart is his bane.
It's true.
It is true. Especially I hate him for it. But
someone with something funny in common with Jaime is Davos. They both have things wrong with their hand. Well, Jaime's is just gone entirely. Yeah. Davos still has most of his hand, but something for them to bond over. Davos definitely won't get Widow's Wail or Heartsbane. That we can definitely cross him off the list. I don't suppose he has any specific reason to be upset with Jaime. I don't think Davos has any enmity towards the Lannisters in general, other than them beating Stannis and them being enemies and stealing the throne and all that, but not Jaime specifically. But I'm not sure about that. Davos also has seen the worst. He's seen the dragon, presumably, or knows about what happened beyond the wall and all that, so he's probably not too worried about grudges.
He also seems to be, I don't know how to say this, but a negotiator. He wants to find middle ground. He's not going to encourage divisiveness. Does that make sense? He'll find a way, especially if there's 3 people who are pro Jaime and 1 who's negative. He's going to convince the 1 negative to be pro. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. I agree with that. And that's a great segue to Varys, who is also generally used to be someone that did try to divide people, but now he's all about, the common good. And that's, so I suspect that, I have him on the list here as neutral, but I suspect he might actually be more pro Jaime, just like, we should all work together. Anyone else have thoughts on Varys?
Similar?
Okay.
I don't, to be honest, I don't expect to see much of his reaction to this at all.
Yeah, I kind of agree. Varys might they may just dispense with him reacting at all. Just Varys is cool with this.
Yeah.
Well, he has those great facial reactions in the backdrop of so many scenes.
That's true.
Conleth Hill does. He just reacts to things. So that might be the extent of what we get.
Just having smirking and possibly rolling his eyes.
Yeah.
Okay.
So another one who just got mentioned is Jorah. Jorah has a little bit of a different perspective on Jaime, possibly, because that's another person who fought at Pike together. Jaime, as Euron reminded us this season, Jaime was a big force at Pike. Well, Jorah was a big force at Pike, and that was brought up when he re-encounters Thoros. So this whole war that they all fought in together, they all charged through the breach together. Jaime was there, so Jorah may have some respect for him. What's that?
That's the flashback we're getting. Great choice.
Bring back Thoros. Put some Vaseline on the lens so we don't have to see that, some of these actors are older than they should be. Do it.
Do they actually do that? Vaseline on the lens? Is that really a thing?
I mean, now they do it with CG, but yeah, they used to blur the vision to protect wrinkles back then.
That's cool. Or weird. I don't know. Both. Okay, well, let's now talk about people who are at least likely, if not definitely, anti-Jaime. Daenerys is not definitely anti-Jaime, but you could see why she would be, right? Obviously killing her father, but knowing her brother. She might also be like, well, I can ask you questions about Rhaegar, And if that, interestingly, that could be like a way to kind of touch base with where the book goes, because Barristan's dead in the show. But Barristan is not dead in the book, and he might still have things to tell Dany about Rhaegar that Jaime could do. Although Bran could just do all that anyway. But still. That kind of just occurred to me.
Do it.
Yeah, just have Bran. Just have Bran do it. Yeah.
Have Bran do it.
So, but Dany also, though, is now kind of sees things the way Jon does. She's like, yeah, nothing really matters more than this.
Right.
This is the thing that matters. So I don't know if Jaime is going to register as a major grudge now that there's this big, overwhelming, much bigger problem.
Yeah, I think as soon as her dragon went down, it sort of changed every single reaction. That she would even like be in the same room, quote unquote, the same arena as Cersei, that she would, consider a detente with Cersei. Like, all of that to me means that like when Jaime gets there, if he can prove that he can be helpful and not just like, hey, I'm here, I'm not that great at fighting anymore because of my hand thing, but I'm fun at parties, so keep me around, But like, if he has something more military, if he has troops or something like that he can offer, Intel and Cersei, whatever.
Intel and Cersei, yeah.
That's the one thing he has to offer is this knowledge that Cersei's not coming, and in fact, she's sending for the Golden Company. So that will be a key thing. Now, Dany just might not believe it. You know what I mean?
Tyrion's already been like, we know we can't trust Cersei anyway.
Like, I don't believe you.
Yeah.
I'm sending Jorah and you to go swoop out the Golden Company. I expect the Golden Company to be a little more complicated than just Cersei and the Iron Bank hire them.
That's a good call, Shad. That could be how Sandor gets south. If Jorah and Sandor go south to check out the Golden Company.
Yeah.
And then put Game Bowls on.
I'm hoping that that's Theon's plot. That Theon's redemption and plot is like taking out Euron and stopping the Golden Company somehow.
Whoa.
Yeah, I
I
could see it being both. My main thought, the only reason I mentioned Jorah is just that we have that line where he says he served with the Golden Company, and it's just really random for them to add this thing. So I have to entertain the thought that it was so that it could have some payoff later.
That's a good.
Yeah, but so I could see. Multiple people being involved in this, in the Golden Company plot. I kind of don't expect the Golden Company to be very featured, really. Like, I don't expect to really know the characters in it or anything like that.
I expect we at least know maybe the leader character, because who else is Cersei going to talk to without Bronn or Jaime? It's just Qyburn now.
No, it's true.
And she can't talk to the mountain.
Isn't Qyburn enough?
Qyburn might be enough. No, really, he might be.
Maybe Qyburn will have like some child rearing ideas to talk over with her. He's like, let's plan your baby shower. It's gonna be epic. I think you're right that we'll maybe know the leader of the Golden Company, and then they'll just show up as like players on the chessboard. That's what I felt like a lot of season 7 was, is like Grey Worm, the Unsullied don't matter except for like what they look like standing on a battlefield. Do you know what I mean? And like the same is sort of true of the Dothraki. We kind of know the main Dothraki guy because he has like 2 lines.
Kind of, yeah. We've seen him multiple times.
Yeah, he was there in season 6.
Yeah.
All the other dudes were burned up. He's still there. Yeah. So, de facto leader, I guess.
We solved it.
Joanna.
He's held the Valyrian steel sword.
Joanna, I can't get this image out of my mind of Cersei's baby shower. I'm imagining, like, have you seen the Saturday Night Live skits, where they have one of the Melisandre over to the dinner party, she's all brooding, and I'm just imagining, like, the baby shower, like, it's Cersei, the mountain, Qyburn, pink
all of
armor.
All of her handmaidens who she's made get her haircut.
All the same haircut. Everyone's dressed in black.
Black, yeah.
The gifts are wrapped in black.
Best party ever. Yeah.
That's good.
So another aspect about Jon that maybe we didn't mention that maybe should be briefly mentioned is I do still think Jon will be fine with Jaime. But if Jon finds out, when Jon finds out that his real father was Rhaegar, that means his grandfather was Aerys, which means Jaime killed his grandfather as well as Dany's father. So I don't think that's going to matter, but it's not nothing, Yeah,
it's not nothing, but I don't think it will matter ultimately. I think Jon and Dany will be aware that they're great, that he was crazy. Their father and granddad.
I think so too. And then again, Bran can verify it all.
I wonder if Jon could have talked to Tommen or Joffrey or any of those kids if he would have said, you can be a Lannister and a Lannister.
Oh, man. Another one is, we talked about Sansa briefly. I think we covered her fairly well. She might be neutral. She might be anti. I kind of lean towards anti, but she won't go against the grain too much if other people are accepting Jaime. Arya is, kind of goes her own way on a lot of things. Though I do think if Jon is okay with Jaime, then Arya might follow his lead on that.
Yeah.
She was never on her list, so that's something. But Cersei is, and again, he killed Jory. That's a thing. Arya liked Jory, and
I like Jory.
Yeah, everybody liked Jory. That was the first really shocking death in the show, I think, just so like, whoa, his dagger's through his eyeball. Holy crap.
Right through the eye of this guy who's been so nice to children all season.
Yeah, and then they start dropping like flies. It was like, oh, yeah, that's not Jory got forgotten after all the other deaths, but the North remembers.
The next person on your list is going to be my favorite reaction.
Jan Royce?
Who is Jan Royce, the most racist person in all of the North. By racist, I mean never trust a Targaryen, never trust a Lannister. I'm gonna stand up at every meeting.
Xenophobic.
Yes.
Xenophobic,
He is very xenophobic.
Yeah. And very snooty, being that ancient Andal blood,
Yeah.
Andal and old gods combined. Mm-hmm. That is one haughty family there.
Yeah, so Jan Royce is definitely going to stand up at a meeting and be like, Jaime Lannister shouldn't be here.
Blustering with his
And I wonder what some of the other lords, along the line of him.
Jowls, shaking. He's is it exactly that? But that's how I picture him.
Yeah, he's definitely the jowls are on the inside. He's jolly of heart.
Yes.
He has that huge breastplate.
We might have a request for you, Joanna.
Yeah. Acre Frey gave us a super chat. Can you guess who I'd like to say a certain phrase? He's asked us and every guest he can to say Irish wristwatch.
3 times really fast.
Irish wristwatch.
Yes.
So that's
We've all had to do it, so have other guests. So yes, go ahead. It's hard.
Irish no. Wow, guys.
See, it's harder than it sounds.
Irish wristwatch. Irish wristwatch.
There it is.
Good
yes.
job.
Now you're officially a guest.
Is that the hazing process that I have to go through?
Yes, one of our frequent listeners brought this custom along, and we've been following along with it.
I don't know if anyone's watching this who listens to me regularly on podcasts, but I don't know if you can see that my cat is here. And
nice.
this is something that happens a lot on podcasts, but you don't get to see it. You just get to hear it. But she just gets really excited if I'm talking to what seems like the air, and she's like, "Can I be there for that?" And I'm like, "You're loud, but we'll see." So
I have a cat just out of
so
reach.
Funny. I was not expecting you to lift a cat up from below.
And then there's a cat here. Yeah.
We regularly bring cats onto our stream, and sometimes they force their way into our stream. Sometimes we have what's called cat thunder, which is when our camera shakes, and that's cat walking across the table.
Just walking across the table. And one time, a cat hit the power switch that my computer's plugged into and turned the computer off.
Everything off. Right?
Yeah, luckily it was 2 minutes after we started,
early,
so it wasn't it was a false start rather than just the middle.
Yeah.
But I locked the door to this room, but this room is technically a loft, so she found an acrobatic way in and
Cats do not obey the laws of nature.
What's your cat's name?
Yeah. Her name's Juniper, but she gets called Junebug or Bug most of the time.
Nice.
Cute. Okay, let's see.
In addition to Jan Royce, there's the other Northern Lords, right? And that's a lot of them are very much anti-Lannister, and they're going to have a less nuanced view on a lot of this. They're going to just remember Jaime is the this incest guy who killed the king and slew, all these others of their allies, and they don't. Incest guy. He's the incest guy. Soon John will be the incest guy.
Yeah, I hope John doesn't get too much up on his high horse about incest. I hope neither John or Daenerys even try that, because later they're gonna be like, oh, that was we should not.
I think they will. I think that's gonna happen.
Wow. I feel like Lord Glover also will probably stand up in a meeting and say something about Jaime.
What do you think Lyanna Mormont's gonna say about this?
Yeah, what about Lyanna Mormont?
She doesn't have this long history where she experienced these things happening, but I don't think that matters to her.
Yeah.
I feel like if Davos is like, he's okay, she'll be like, okay, Davos said so.
Yeah.
It's gonna take a lot of people to sell this Kingslayer's okay idea.
I'll be interested to see if we do see, they dropped this thing last season. I don't know why, other than to sound just so, I don't know, insufferably anachronistically woke, but they're like, every woman will fight as well, and I'm here for women fighters. I'm here for it. It just it was so inorganic the way it came up. I felt like. That being said, we might see some great training montage next season of Brienne and Arya and Lyanna, and then all the other women who are training to fight. And if Jaime wants to help them with Brienne, teach the young ladies of the North to fight, that would be really fun. So
yeah, I agree with you. I feel like that line was, I don't know, it was fan servicey, feminist servicey. I don't know, in a way that I love Lyanna Mormont, but it felt stilted. But I think it would have felt less stilted if we actually seen something come of this. If we'd seen just in the background some women learning to fight. It doesn't need to be some featured thing, but I would have liked it more then. And you're right, I didn't consider that it could still come to pass, that people still could train. I kind of had thought that they should be training already, but I would
maybe they are training already and they just haven't showed us.
It's something they haven't shown us. I mean, we have to assume that Lyanna Mormont is doing what she said she was going to do. She's training, women.
I was wondering that too, yeah. Or whether we'd see Sansa training even.
Yeah.
Right. It's a really funny thing about this show because I'm a feminist. I am a fan. I I watched Xena Warrior Princess as a child. I love a lady fighter. I'm here for it. But there are ways in which this show, not the books, but this show does this weird pandering, almost
pandering, yeah.
It's this weird pandering where I'm I get it. You think as a woman I'm really excited about this, and I am, but not the way you're doing it. Anyway,
yeah, and I feel the same. I see Jinx Lier in the chat said it was really shallow faux feminist fan service for the gifs, and it's true. It's just
for the gifs.
Yeah, you see screen caps of that scene all the time. I do, at least, just on Facebook and stuff. And I don't know.
It might be I think it might be an extension of the complete lack of female writers. It's that might have helped.
Yeah. I think it isn't just Lyanna Mormont's case. We see it with Tormund. We see this kind of a little bit fan servicey, pandering type of line.
Oh yeah.
So it's just a thing they know these characters are popular and they're trying to do what they think made them popular. But it doesn't exactly resonate with me either. I agree.
Another super chat here.
Yeah, from Lucifer Means Lightbringer. Who's we've had on the show before.
Yeah,
Joanna.
Podcast.
Really enjoying your presence on the video. I tweeted at you, by the way. We got him on Twitter too.
Yeah, another recent Twitter joiner.
Very recent. He tweets more than I ever could imagine myself tweeting.
Maybe that's why he avoided it in the first place. It's such a time sink. It really is a lot of fun, but it definitely eats up some hours.
Yeah, I just disengage from it because it's daunting.
Okay, so we've covered all the different characters we wanted to talk about in terms of how they might interact with Jaime. Maybe there's a few we missed. If we did miss any, certainly let us know in the chat here. Otherwise, we'll be beginning our wrap up here shortly.
Mm-hmm.
Is there any shot that Jaime gets to kill the Night King?
It's gotta be a little bit. It's gotta be a little bit,
Yeah. I think it's a pretty long shot, but I think you sold me on it with the whole Night Kingslayer idea. I do like it.
I think that, I think Arya sneaking up on him is one thing. You know, Arya shooting him with arrows is another one because of the whole practicing her archery at night thing.
Oh.
I thought that was kind of a cool little foreshadowing.
I'm definitely team Arya's gonna kill him. I just like the idea. I don't know. I don't think it's at all the books, but I like it a lot in the show.
Yeah, because because it's probably not even a Night King.
Yeah, exactly. There's no one
but,
right.
like you said. But that's the thing, right? Like, she's got all this faceless man training, right? And
she's
all
gonna
she
kill Jaime
did
and
was
use his
kill
face.
the phrase.
And then you'll win too, Joanna. Jaime will be dead, and she'll use his face, and Jaime and Arya
to kill. Oh, she'll use Jaime's face to kill Cersei.
Yeah, and then Night King.
And then yeah. Ooh.
I didn't even think about her using Jaime's face to kill Cersei. That's such a funny idea that then it would kind of be true that he kills her in the show. Even though we had veered away from that in the show due to them not mentioning that, but still very funny.
I think you're right. It's like, why else have a seasoned assassin or a trained assassin if she doesn't get to assassinate someone in the final war?
Sneaking
like,
up on him.
Has to be what you do with her. Yeah.
And her weapon is the Valyrian steel dagger, which isn't exactly like get right up there and hand-to-hand fight. It's a sneak up behind you and kill you kind of weapon.
Shank him. We were talking about this on Storm of Spoilers, is we were like, can you wear a White Walker face? Are we gonna see Arya on a White Walker face?
We talked about that too. I love the idea of her doing that.
The answer seemed to be no, because they die by shattering, and I was like, that's a good point.
Yes, you have to take it off. Yeah, that's true.
Would she have to like glue the pieces of the White Walker back together?
Well, I guess that makes me wonder, like, could Melisandre or like Bloodraven use a glamour to look like one of them?
Ooh.
You know, like,
I would love to see a glamour used
that
in
would
the
be
final
cool.
season.
That'd be really cool. Yeah, and I think that I've said this before, but I think there's a good chance we see the Night King like cut some people down in hand-to-hand combat if he's not on his dragon. That the dragon kind of throws this idea for a bit of a loop.
Yeah.
But because who the actor is, that's Vladimir Furtick, and he's the guy that did the two-handed fighting as Arthur Dayne. That's the same guy. So he knows his stuff. They should make use of that. But
although I will say, the thing I mentioned before, after the javelin throw, it just makes me really, I can't picture him fighting hand-to-hand combat and not just completely destroying anyone.
I agree. He would have to crush anyone.
With that strength, or and that's why I like the idea of him being snuck up on in some way or anything like that. Not a face-to-face battle.
Yeah.
I kind of wanted to give. Maybe they should just like really lean into the fact that he looks like Darth Maul and give him like a double-sided staff, to twirl.
He just grabs another one of those javelins and he twirls it
and just to make it easier on the inevitable, hey, this fight with lightsabers instead video that always happens no matter what sword fight it is, no matter what movie or show, it always gets swapped out with lightsabers in some sort of someone else's video.
Barrick's sword feels like it's essentially a lightsaber now. There used to be like a whole ritual and some blood, and now he just lights it up whenever he wants to.
I was so disappointed that he didn't talk to Jon about that at all. I really want to know if Jon can light a sword on fire with his blood, if it's a thing. I don't know.
That's okay. Two things about that. One, that might be someone who charges at Night King and dies, because he already said we should do that.
You pointed at him.
Yeah, he pointed.
That might be part of why Barrick is still alive, so he can have a suicide charge at Night King. Second of all, did you guys see that was not CGI? Those were actual flaming swords that had to be like recharged every 2 minutes. It doesn't surprise
me when I look at. Remember, they showed the filming of the dragon attack, and they showed people on fire there and how they lit them on fire. Yeah. It was crazy how long they were talking about how the people in the middle they were most worried about because it gets even hotter. So,
and then they made us like watch it as they counted it down. I was like, put them out.
Hurry up, put them out.
My not to like go full plug on something, but I have some friends who are going to be selling merch at Con of Thrones, and one of them did talk about he can make a flaming sword because he's like, you just need a little reservoir for the like lighter fluid and like blah blah, and I was like, okay, maybe sell that on the last day as people are like,
no lighter fluid.
Oh
man.
Newsflash: Con ends in fire.
Yeah, no
ice to save the day.
That's amazing. That is amazing.
That is. Super chat from Change in Face. Missed you at Dragon Con, but happy to catch this. Yeah, we were sorry if we missed you there. It was, as you are aware, a very, very busy con.
I think they cracked 80,000 this year.
It's
Wow.
so packed. Like I can't.
Cool.
I mean, I guess you've been to Comic Con, right, Joanna?
Yes.
So like I'm sure it's comparable to that in size, but it's too much.
it's gigantic. It's really it's hard to meet people there.
It takes me like the first day to just adjust to it all, to like being just this close to a bunch of people in costume.
But it's kind of fun because it feels like Dragon Con, unlike Con of Thrones, which is unlike Comic Con, which has become so like commercialized, and the studios like basically run everything, and it's just one big PR event. Like Dragon Con still feels like much more connected to the fandom directly. You know?
Definitely. I mean, and plus Dragon Con is just, that's just a party con.
Yeah.
It's just, it's just people are going wild. They're like the wildest they'll be.
Someone said, Bernie the Burnt just said, did someone's stomach just growl? I don't know. I don't think so.
Phone went off. No, I don't know.
She also said, going to light this dab with a flaming sword. That's doing it right. That is doing it right.
Yeah, Dragon Con is a little more evenly spread out amongst so many different fandoms, I guess. It's not just sci-fi or just comic heroes or, I mean, I don't know, Joanna, how much you even know about Dragon Con or people in general. Like I didn't know till a couple years ago they have like a professional wrestling event there. You know what I mean? There's so many.
I did not know that.
Yeah,
That's
there's
amazing.
such a huge, wide range of variety of types of events and fandoms that are being appealed to, and a lot of it is just like groups of people that just want to do these different things that have nothing to do with some larger entity, like you were saying. It's not like just some. I'm sure there are like some funded and promoted things, but there's all kinds of stuff that's just, there's even things that just happen there that they're just happening every year, and they just decide, okay, we'll just schedule this. But like a drum circle happens every year, just people show up with little tom-toms and little percussion instruments, and so like, all right, fine, Saturday night at 8:00, that's the drum circle. They just scheduled this thing that was just happening anyway, so
It's really fun.
Yeah,
I would love to go next year.
we got to see MC Chris this time. He was there. That was fun.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
But you should come next year. We'll be if you come, we'll be spending 2 weeks around each other, because we'll have WorldCon
awesome.
the week before. It's literally the week after, 10 days after or something.
my
So
God.
it might be tight, but I'm excited for a con month.
So another person asking about my shirt here. This is this says The North Remembers. This is made by Sanrixian, who I think is still in the chat, and she's also a patron. 3 Black Dogs is her Twitter handle, and she does a lot of art. She's very talented.
Yeah,
and
she's coming out with some more shirts.
yeah, so this is the first time we've had her one of her shirts on our show, but it may not be the last.
I think she made one for me too. It'll be coming soon.
Oh, she says it's a shirt she made in combo with a company called Cotton Bureau. I can see her in this. So she is still in the chat and answering, filling out this detail here.
Is that what you guys use, Joanna?
Yeah, we use Cotton Bureau. They're great. So that's a great shirt you
This
have.
is comfortable.
they have shirts.
This is comfortable, yeah.
Yeah. You guys have that.
Hold up to many washes.
I think the one I saw from you guys most recently was Tormund Live. That's the shirt I saw.
we have a
Dumbest.
Tormund Lives shirt and a Missing Direwolf shirt, like a Where's Ghost sort of shirt.
I was going to make that comment a little while ago, talking about the idea of how George handles things versus how the show handles things, and I was thinking George would have killed Tormund there.
I mean, George would have had
him
other wildlings, so that we're not worried about, so that we're actually worried about some of them. We just know the one.
That's interesting.
Yeah, it's just the one. That's true.
Now I'm excited for like if they ever use Ghost again. For Jaime to meet Ghost, because like there was that great scene where Rob and his direwolf are like menacing Jaime and stuff like that. So Jaime's encountered a direwolf before and not great circumstances, so it might be fun to see him scared by Ghost or something.
Jaime's faced down a direwolf and a dragon.
Or a direwolf on a dragon.
Yeah,
you keep forgetting this really obvious. I mean, that's the real Jon Snow embodied would be a direwolf riding a dragon. Gotta have it. Okay, I think that is our show for today. We've gone almost exactly the 2 hours we aimed at, so that's pretty cool. We will see you guys next time. We've got some outro stuff to do.
I wanted to mention one thing. right here, which was that people had mentioned in the chat last time that I should have a female-only live stream.
Yeah.
And we were going to try to do that on Wednesday and October, so comment with the people you want to have on. I was obviously going to be asking Joanna, but I just had forgotten. But because I haven't scheduled it. Yeah, I was. Because you are also a woman.
I am.
No, it's not an episode where we're like going to be talking about like women's issues or anything. It's just an idea that I thought would be cool.
Yeah, it would be fun. Yeah,
we're not going to plan Cersei's baby shower.
Yeah, we're not going to do that and talk about feminism and
has there not even just randomly, coincidentally been one yet? Has there not been even just,
a baby shower?
No, no. Two women doing a podcast about Game of Thrones.
No, there are. There's other
podcasts.
I
don't know about that.
There's other podcasts where they have all female casts, and there's podcasts where they have multiple women, but we ourselves have not had an episode without Aziz in it.
Not since
Westeros.
Not
history.
since like 2012 when none of us were in it.
So very different to not have him in it and just have a bunch of female guests.
I'll be the moderator for that.
Yeah, he'll be in the chat. It'll
I'll
be
get
cool.
on the old chat.
I wanted to give everyone a heads up just to comment with your favorite people that I can invite because obviously scheduling will be hard. So I'm trying to get like 5 people, maybe 6 people.
See if you can get Shania Twain.
Yes, please. I want to hear all of Shania's thoughts on Game of Thrones.
Damn, she feels like a podcast.
Yeah.
I shouldn't have said that.
Now I want Shania to start her own podcast. It's called Twain of Thrones.
Oh,
just her
or Twain-cest.
Talking about them. Ooh,
Twain-cest. She needs like her sister or some other Twain.
Yeah. Gross.
Does she have a sister? I don't know. Okay, well, thank you very much for coming today, Joanna. That was awesome. This went as well as we could have hoped.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, you're welcome. Please tell everyone again where to find, what did I say, your greatness out on the internet and
my
in print.
You can find me on vanityfair.com. You can follow me on Twitter at JoWroteThis. You can hear me talking about pop culture in general on Storm of Spoilers or award season specifically on Little Gold Men.
Right on. Very cool.
Where can we find your awfulness now?
That's not on the internet. She smartly keeps that, in a closet.
Also on Twitter.
That does describe Twitter pretty well. It's a lot of awesome and a lot of awful.
Yeah.
You probably don't hit that lower extreme so often. But
I try. I do try to be as awful as possible.
We all have bad days. Cool. Well, let me give some other thanks to other people who helped out. Of course, thanks to Ashea and Sean as well. And thanks to everyone who came and watched this live. Thanks to everyone who shares it and hits the like button. Thanks to everyone who supports us on Patreon or in any other of the many ways there are to support the show. Thanks to Michael Klarfeld for our video intro, outro. Thanks to Jesse Kowal and Joey Townsend for our music. And thanks to anyone else who I may have forgotten. So let's take care of our patrons here. I want to definitely give thanks to the mysterious BR, Hand of the King. Shea?
And to Lord Michael Valerian, Knight of High Tide and Guardian of the DeLorean, Hand of the Queen.
Can you read that, Sean?
Oh, let's see, yeah. Lady Suzanne Sinistral, the learned, holder of the left-handed Valerian shears called Penance, Hand of the Beard.
Heck yeah, Hand of the Beard. Also, Lord Jim, the Fortuitous of Wars and Politics of Ice and Fire blog and Warden of the West. He has been steadily releasing episodes of his show To Wage War, which, if you are a fan of obscure battles from a man who has a military background, that is a great place to go. I really like his podcast. He has a lot of energy as well. Always a positive. Lord George Stormsville the Cunning is Lord of the Chiliad and Warden of the East. Gabeth the Unfrozen is Lord of the Bricks and Castle Crimson Light, Defender of the Old Gods and Warden of the North. Lady Kelly McMath of Covington is Lady of the Villa Hills and Crescent Springs, Warden of the South. Lord James Tuttle is King of the Stepstones and Narrow Sea, Commander of the Royal Fleet, consisting of the Narrow Fleet led by flagship Caraxes and the Bloodstone Fleet led by flagship Prince Daemon. Recently, there has been a bit of an excursion where he and our Corsair Queen of the Western Shivering Sea, almost as hard to say as Irish wristwatch, Charlotte Ostra, commander of the Briny fleet, whose flagship is the barnacle-encrusted violet-hulled Mercenaria, and she carries the nacre-inlaid shucking blade Crasslever.
That one's cool.
Shucking blade is
That's
just
new.
a really cool term. Also, our small council, Lord James Inkblade, the Scholar Knight, is Master of Whisperers. Grand Maester Saria of the Barrows is Cinder of the Citadel. Lord Robert Jacobs is Master of Coin. Rosie the Clever is Master of Laws. Lady Direliz of Castle Naki is the Alpha Patron. Lord Dan of the Red Mountains and Castle Great Bell is Breaker of the Second Stone and was in our chat today. Lord Skip of the Velt is Lord of Castle Ganges. Gregor the Toasty is Lord of the Bread Fort. Alicia Everlasting of the Green Blood is Lady of Desert Rose. Lord Ryan of Castle Stonegate is Guardian of the Rocky Mountain Pass. Lord Garin de Haviland is of Devil's Hand Keep. Ashlyn Winter is the Hawk's Eye, Lady of Castle Skyfall. Lady Mikkel of Moonacre is leader of the Werewood Protectorate Alliance, and that is a reference to the Facebook game Game of Thrones Ascent, which is a really fun Facebook game, surprisingly well developed, and that is a clan name there.
Especially during the season when they release new episodes based on each episode.
True that. I haven't kept up with the game, but I definitely had a long run of playing it and enjoying it. Also, the Lord of the Halls of Castle Hillcrest is wielder of the Valyrian steel machete Everglazed. Lord Alistair Whitaker is Lord of the Dawnhold. Lord Bemmy Snugglebunny is Guardian of the Hidden 100-Acre Werewood and holder of the Vorpal Snugglebunny. When you fear things cannot get worse, Vorpal Snugglebunny enters the fray. Brian the Defender is Lord of the Spearfort and the Freelands, last scion of Clan McCulloch, motto, strength and courage. The bastard of the Wolfswood is first forester of the Old Gods. He is sworn to House Ironwarewood, motto, listen for the silence. Connor the Dungeon Master is Lord of Catamount Keep and Guardian of the Smoky Mountain Pass. Lady Baelish is Dark Widow of Harrenhal. King's Justice Sir the Troy the Steady is wielder of the Valyrian Steel Blade Fate. Our Queen's High Council
is Lady Jane of House Celtigar, the Emerald of the Evening, wielder of the Valyrian Steel Axe. Oh, cat. Something. Anyways, wielder of the Valyrian Steel Axe, Painkiller, Mistress of Sea Eagles, and Mistress of Ships. Lady Mai of House Swan, Mistress of Whisperers. Elia of Upstate, Master of Coin. Grand Maester Elizabeth, middle daughter of Lyanna Mormont, First Lady to forge both the Silver and Valyrian Steel Link. And Bold Betha of House Copperhook, Still Waters Run Deep, Master of Laws.
Sean's Council of the Beard is led by
Grand Maester Clarke, Protector of Wisdom and Beards.
And our King's Guard is led by Lord Commander Sir Christopher Dane of Starfall, Sentinel of the Torrentine. Ashaya's Queen's Guard.
It's led by Lord Captain Commander Haima Helmint, the Sellsword Sentinel. And has Lady Nymeria of House Sea Purtle, Alexander of House Atreides from the Seat of Dune, I Must Not Fear, Fear is the Mind Killer, Jane Grey, Becca the Bard, Songbird of the North, and Sir Eric Redbeard Odinson, wielder of Tempest, a monstrous warhammer.
Our Beard Guard.
Lord Commander George the Golden, Sir Joshua Oakhart, the White Oak, Lady Rita of the Coppermane, the Unbound, Dance the Fervor.
Look right here, Sean.
And Sir Joff, Warden of the AC, wielder of Triad, the multifaceted beard of platinum, red and brown. Stay frosty.
Stay frosty, my friends.
Okay.
That's great. I love that. And last but not least, the History of Westeros Night's Watch, which is commanded by Lord Commander Daenerys Flint of the Night Fort, revenging the memory of brave Dany. Also,
she's one of my favorites, by the way.
What's that?
And all the names.
Yeah.
I like that one.
That one? Oh, cool. All right.
I don't know. I just like the history of it.
That is a good call. Yeah, I like that too. First Ranger Fabian Flowers is the bastard of Greenshield. First Builder Patchface is of Motley Wisdom. And First Steward Sir Jurion of the Torrentine is called Palewind. And that is that. Thank you again, everybody. Thank you, Joanna. And we will hopefully be back on Wednesday with our special guest. And if not, we'll be back shortly after. And again, our Blackfish episode records tomorrow and will be distributed over the course of the 10 days after that, roughly speaking. So be on the lookout for that as well. And we'll see you next time. Valar rewatch us, Valar reread us.